Good evening, students. Welcome to the live coaching classes organized by Board of Studies. And I am Swati Agarwal, Faculty of Indirect Taxes from Board of Studies. And we welcome CA Deepak Jain, the another faculty for the today's session. And in fact, you must be conversant with now Mr. Deepak Jain. He's taking all the substantive law of indirect taxes. Welcome, Deepak, to the class. And the name of the topic which we are going to take today is charge of GST. So, students, friends, one thing I would like to tell you that in the previous class, my colleague has, briefed with you the few important aspects to be borne in mind, like while appearing for May 22 or November 22 examination, like basically what all the amendments and notification circulars, applicability of act, which act will be applicable for you, and the amendments up to which date, notification and circulars up to which date will be relevant for you, which edition of study material will be applicable for you. So I hope that by now you are well conversant with the study material, edition of study material, and the notification and circulars, statutory updates, and you are aware of all the basically main points which are to be kept in mind while starting your study. So I now, since I have got an opportunity being the faculty of indirect taxes from Board of Studies to interact with you. So before, touching upon the important aspects that we are going to cover in this lecture, the topic being charge of GST, the technical aspects will be taken by the Deepak, but yes, I would like to stretch upon you the important things, the important points which we are going to cover, the type of question which you can expect from this chapter, and all the important things which you need to bear in mind while starting study. So before, starting with the, covering the broader aspects of this chapter, I would like to, I would like you to know the basically the study plan, because since by this time you just have started your study, so I think this is the right time. Well, nothing can be the best time than this. This is the right time when you just have initiated your study. So I would like to focus upon the study plan, like how to make your study plan so as to derive the full benefit of these classes. And I hope that you must have been enjoying the classes and deriving the maximum benefit from these classes. So before covering to the technical aspects of the topic, technical aspects will be taken by Deepak, but I will touch upon the important things, coverage, what all is important in this chapter and what all you need to take care of. But before going towards the chapter, let us discuss the study plan, because I think we being in the Board of Studies, we can personally help you with the study plan. The previous slide, please. Study plan. So how to make a study plan for Paper-4B indirect taxes. So now this, I think this is the most important thing. Planning, as you know, planning is a fundamental of anything, fundamental process of key ingredient of, anything which you want to achieve. So without planning, we can't expect desired objectives. So planning is very important. So let's discuss the study plan. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. So how to make a study plan for Paper-4B indirect taxes? The most important thing in this case is that you should know your syllabus and the expected level of knowledge. So what does it mean? It means that first of all, you should know your syllabus. As you know that my colleague has, apprised you that paper 4 taxation is of 100 marks, but income tax is for 60 marks and indirect taxes is for 40 marks. So you should know the syllabus, but all are the contents of this syllabus. Paper-4B indirect taxes covers both substantive law and the procedural law of GST, and substantive law like basically the meaning and scope of supply, then charge of GST, then exemptions, and then time and value of supply, input tax credit, and procedural law relating to like registration, tax invoice, credit note, debit notes, e-way bill, payment of tax and returns. Then after knowing thoroughly your syllabus and what is the expected level of knowledge, at intermediate level we expect the student should be well conversant with the law, and they along with the basic understanding, comprehension and knowledge, they should be competent to apply the legal knowledge in the practical scenario, like application based skills also we expect at intermediate level. However, evaluation and synthesis skills, these are expected at final level. So at intermediate level, basically comprehension and knowledge of the provisions of law and your analysis and application skills are tested. And then what is the third thing which you need to bear in mind while making a study plan for paper 4B? This is that you need to draw up a detailed study plan and allocate time for each topic of the subject. As we have discussed just now, that what all are the substantive law and what all are the procedural laws which are covered in this paper 4B. So basically now, while preparing a detailed plan, it's very important, time management is very important. I will advise you to keep looking for these lectures, keep listening to these lectures very attentively, because in each of the sessions, because we will try as far as possible, to the extent possible, we will try to tell you like the time management, what are the important topics in this paper, how to revise the whole curriculum, and how to improve your performance, then how to get good marks and how to manage time. What are the points to be borne in mind while solving computational questions? We will try to cover all these aspects in the ensuing sessions as far as possible. So it is very important. Time management is the key to success. You must have heard about it. So it is very important to give allocate a limited time, allocate a stipulated time to each topic, so that your syllabus does not run out of time. But it should not happen that at the time of study you leave few topics. You have to go through the whole syllabus very thoroughly and then revise the important significant aspects before going in the examination. And to achieve all these things, it is very important to go time management, to learn time management, and to allocate specific time for each topic. Then coming to the another point while making a study plan is that one should plan to complete one round of study and 2 rounds of revision before examination. So friends, your target should be that at least you should complete your syllabus thoroughly in one round, basically, so that when you go through your syllabus now, whatever points you feel that these are tricky, or I am stuck at these points, or these are my gray areas, by studying in the first go, you need to mark those points. You need to highlight those points with your pen, with your marker, or you can add the sticky notes, so that while at the time of revision now, you don't need to go through the whole chapter, because obviously at the time of revision you can't go through the whole syllabus thoroughly again. But what you need to do is you just need to touch up the important aspects. You need to touch up your gray areas. Gray areas or the points where you are not much confident, where you are lacking. It is different for each and every person. They can't be same. They are not similar to everybody. So you need to make your own notes basically, and so that at the time of revision you are able to save your time and you are able to only focus on the important aspects. And then another slide, please. Then another thing is, what should be the approach for effective self-study and attaining conceptual clarity in this paper? And when should one start doing practice of questions? Should question and answers be taken up at the end after completing all the chapters? So you must be, in a dilemma, how to effectively self-study, attain conceptual clarity, and at what point of time I should take up the practice questions. So friends, effective self-study, like we at the Institute, our Board of Studies are organizing these live coaching classes. You must derive full benefit of these classes. Very learned professionals take these classes, and we at Board of Studies also make endeavor to help you out with our experience, what all we what all queries, what all things we telephonically, by emails, what all problems we know, where we know that students lack, where we know that students generally commit mistakes. So we would like to help you at these points. And then another thing is that you must be in a dilemma that when should I solve all the practice questions? Should I solve them after completing all the syllabus, or should I solve them after each and every session? So friends, I would like to advise you that at the end of each of the topic, at the end of each of the chapter, a division named test your knowledge is given. So after going through the, first of all, I hope that you must be studying continuously, simultaneously with these classes. So once a topic is over, you should start preparing your test your knowledge section. You should read the questions and then draft the answers without looking at the answers, and then afterwards check the answer with the answers given in the study material. So my point is that you should not collect all the read all the syllabus first of all, and then at the end start with the test your knowledge. At the end of each chapter, simultaneously solve the questions relating to, so that you have a fair idea what all type of questions you can expect in the exam, or whether my understanding is correct or not. So simultaneously you have to go through the practice questions. Then another thing is, another slide please, how to attain conceptual clarity. How to self-study and attain conceptual clarity. Read each chapter of the study material thoroughly for conceptual clarity, as just now we have discussed. Then prepare short summaries of each chapter. Here I would like to stress that at intermediate level, let us recapitulate section. A summary is given in the second last division, like let us recapitulate section of each chapter. But along with that, you can prepare your own short summary. So why I am saying that you should prepare your own short summary also? Because points where the point of gray areas, or the point where you are confident, or the point where you think that you need to revise before examination, you might forget it. So that you can add in the summary given in the study material, or that's why you can take help of the summary given in the study material, and you can make addition or deletion, or you can make some changes in that summary also, so that at the time of examination, when you go through that summary, that is full exhaustive. Basically, it comprises of the summary given by the institute, and as well as your points where you are lacking, where you would like to revise. So it should be a complete summary. That's why I'm telling you that you should prepare a short summary of each chapter. Then the another thing is that after reading a topic of the study material thoroughly, work out the question from the test your knowledge section, as just now we have discussed. Then how to self-study and attain conceptual clarity going on. Then we will say that, as I have told you, that while solving the question, do not look at the answer given in the study material. Why? Because then if you tend to look at the answer given in the study material, you will be biased. Then you won't apply your mind fully. You won't be able to know where you stand while assessing your performance, whether you are able to recall it, whether you are able to recall the provisions or not. So compare your answers with the answers given. Compare your answers which you have solved with the answers given with the answers which you have given in the study material, and then repeat the process for each topic. Like in the recent class, the topic supply was taken, and so you must have you should do the same exercise for that supply as well. And I hope that you might have done the same, or if a few people who have not done this exercise, then I would like to say that for the topic which has been taken in the last class, like introduction and the taxable event, tax introduction of GST and that supply under GST, you should follow the same procedure which I have apprised you. Like you should go through the study material thoroughly, listen to the classes attentively, then you should come to the test your knowledge section, and don't look at the answers Don't look at the answers. Write your own answers and then compare the answer with the answer provided in the study material. So you should follow this aspect for all the topics. Read the study material, work out the questions from the test your knowledge section, then compare your answers with the answers given in the study material, and then you are able to identify your mistakes, like where you are lacking, what point you need to bear in mind while solving the question. So after this first round of study, you have understood as the concept summary of each chapter is ready with you, and then you have to go through the question and answers. So this is basically the study plan. I think I will advise that this is a common plan for all the chapters. It's not key you have to follow this plan for only for this chapter 1 or chapter 2 or chapter 3. For all the topics which are given in the study material, you have to follow the same study plan. So friends, in the last session, let me just go through it very quickly. What all you have learned in the last session. My colleague Shrifali Jain has told you in the supply under GST. I would like to just touch upon the important aspects of supply under GST, like supply. So basically, in supply under GST, I would like to say that section 7 and schedule 1, 2 and 3, all the clauses of supply are very important. All the clauses of supply and all the entries given in the schedule 1 as well as schedule 2 and schedule 3, you must go through it very thoroughly. You must memorize it, because it is the fundamental of GST law. Supply under this is a taxable event under GST supply. So the taxable event supply, you must be thoroughly go through the definition of supply, and then all the clauses of supply are very important. You should not ignore any clauses. Then the schedule 1, 2, 3, all the entries falling in the schedule 1, 2 and 3. And let me give you an example. You should know the definition, the important definition which are given in this chapter supply, like this definition of goods, definition of services, definition of family. Family is very important, because what happened in the sometimes in examination few questions come like upon the related person and knows, which that all the members of the same family are treated as related person, but who all are included in the family. This is very important. Students tend to ignore this point, and the definitions are already given in the study material. So the definition of goods, definition of family, definition of these actionable claims, money, services. They are very important. You must thoroughly go through it. Let me give you an example, like money and securities. So money and securities are neither treated as goods, they are not treated as services. So when you will very effectively or efficiently go through all these definitions, then you won't at the time of examination you won't face any kind of sort of problem. Then similarly in supply under GST, like composite supply, mixed supply is very important, the taxability of supply. So these are the areas you have already gone through, and these are the important aspects I feel that you must have learned in that chapter. So friends, now let's come to the the topic of the today's session, that is charge of GST. All the technical aspects will be taken by our colleague, another expert like Deepak Jain, and I will be telling you the key areas where you need to look after. So the very important thing in charge of GST, I would like that's something for which you will feel happy. That students generally feel happy for the topics they want to know that are not to be studied in this chapter, which are not expected from students. They are excluded from the syllabus. So in case of charge of GST, rate of tax. Rate of tax is something, rate of tax for goods as well as for services is not expected from students. So you are not expected to memorize the rate of tax, because there are very different types of rates which are prescribed for supply of goods as well as for supply of services. But in the examination, rate of tax will be given to you, whatever service and whatever goods is given. So you are not expected to memorize it. Then categories of supply of goods on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis. When in the ensuing session, when Deepak will tell you that this basically charge of tax, what does it tell you? That it explains the extent and commencement of CGST Act, IGST Act, And when the CGST Act will be, when the CGST will be levied, when the IGST will be levied, then the provisions relating to levy and collection of CGST, IGST, and the chapter covers the services on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism. So the point here to note is that categories of supply of goods on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism is not included in your syllabus. It is excluded from the syllabus via study guidelines. Only categories of supply of services on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism are included for the syllabus. Then similarly, another thing is that basically you need to know when the CGST and SGST will be levied, and in case of intra-state supplies, CGST and CGST plus SGST is levied. However, in case of interstate supply, IGST is levied. But determination of nature of supply, whether the given supply is an interstate supply or an intrastate supply, that is not expected from you. It will be clearly given in the question that the given supply is an interstate supply or it is an intrastate supply. You are not expected to determine the nature of the supply. Now you must be wondering that, ma'am, basically you are telling that rate of tax for goods as well as services are not expected from students, but in case of composition scheme, composition levy is covered in charge of tax. It says, what is this? Basically, composition scheme is a scheme for small taxpayers. So in case of small taxpayer composition scheme, few rates of tax are given in the question. So you must be wondering whether we need to memorize those rates of tax for composition levy or not. The answer is yes. Rates specified for computing the tax payable under composition levy are included in the syllabus. You need to memorize those rates basically. So those rates are important. Composition levy is a scheme for small taxpayers, and it is a very significant, very important scheme. When Deepak will be telling you, please go listen to it very attentively. And then this basically, let's discuss the important aspects which we are going to cover is that types of question basically generally which are asked from this chapter. Generally the type of questions which are asked in the examination from these chapters are based on the reverse charge, like the services on which reverse charge is payable. So you should know the supplier of, you should know that what is the case, like who should be the supplier of service, who is the recipient of service on which reverse charge is applicable. Because you know what happens is that at the time of examination scenario now, students tend to get confused in case of category. Let's say they remember that in case of directorship service, your sponsorship service, reverse charge is payable. But what happens is that they get confused that who should be the supplier and who should be the recipient. Like in this case, any person can be the supplier, but any body, corporate or partnership firm located in the taxable territory should be the recipient, so as to get reverse charge applicable. So sometimes, like in many cases, partnership firm is not included. So you should be, very thoroughly remember. You should very thoroughly aware of understanding, have the complete understanding of the supplier, of the recipient, along with the category of service. It is very important. Then only you will be able to, apply your conceptual knowledge so as to arrive at the correct answer. Then another important thing which I am constantly telling you in this chapter is the composition scheme. And reverse charge, supplier and recipient is very important. In case of composition scheme, you should remember the rates. Rates are to be recalled basically. And then another thing is that again, I would like to tell you that nature of supply is not expected. Basically, this chapter covers the levy, extent and commencement, and the levy and collection of CGST. CGST is levied on intrastate supplies of goods and or services, whether on goods or their services or both. And IGST is levied on interstate supplies. And one thing, that alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside the purview of this applies outside the purview of GST, and the value will be the on. Now you must be wondering that tax will be levied on which value. That you need not worry, because we will discuss in the future forthcoming classes. Tax is always levied on the value. What will be the value for time and value of supply is a chapter where we will come to know what will be the value on which tax is levied. So, and what are the services on which tax is payable under reverse charge? Then composition scheme. Composition scheme is basically provided under two for goods as well as for services. Like for composition scheme, the composition levy for goods is covered in section 10.1 and section 10.2, as you will be come to know in the this session. And composition levy for services is covered in section 10.2a. Then there are different turnover limit for opting composition levy, like it is basically state specific. There are few special category states for which a limit is different, and for the other states the limit is different to opt for the composition levy. Similarly, the rates of tax are different for goods and in case of services, in case of composition levy. And turnover limit in preceding financial year to opt for composition levy for services is rupees 50 lakh. And there are few persons who are not eligible for composition levy. You should bear in mind that in these cases, composition scheme is cannot be opted. So, friends, in a broader aspect, I will say these are the things which you are going to, which Deepak will cover. Technical aspects will be covered by Deepak in this session. And these are the important things I have told you that you need to bear in mind. So my advice to all of you that, while now I just, when the Deepak is take over the session, please listen to all these points very attentively, because these are very important, like GTA service, in GTA services are taxable at the two rates. So what are those two rates? In which case the reverse charge is applicable? So these are the few, finer points, finer important points, like where students, commit mistakes, where they generally, they generally tend to overlook all these things. So just go through all these things very thoroughly. And the definition of goods, services, family, you have already gone through in the previous session. I would again like to re-emphasize on these important definitions. And the definition of supply is very important. Basically, these are the fundamentals, because whenever you will be solving any computation problems covering all the aspects, all these things will be clubbed in that. So you should know in case of interstate supply, which tax is levied; in case of intrastate supply, which tax is levied. So I hope that I have, I'm able to tell you, I'm able to apprise with you the significant things, so that, you have a fair chance, so that, you should be, I feel more, you should be more encouraged, you should be more enthusiastic to listen to the ensuing sessions, because now what is the relevance, how important is this topic, and what all is not expected from you. That also is very important, that like composition rates are expected from you, but the rate of tax for goods and services are not expected to be learned from you, and then determination of nature of supply is not expected. And these are the important thing. And the categories of supply of goods on which tax is payable in the reverse charge, that is not covered at intermediate level. Only the services on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism are covered at final level. So friends, we would keep on touching the another important aspects in the classes, like we will try to how to revise the whole course, how to improve performance, how to get good marks. So keep on learning the classes, keep on deriving the full benefits. And now I will say ask Deepak to take the session and apprise you with all the technical aspects which I have briefly apprised to you, that what all are the significant and important things you need to keep in mind. So over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Ms. Swati. It was very insightful, and I could see in the question answer session but people, they're responding that the session was really helpful, and they're saying that yes, your advice was very valuable. They had some questions, if you could answer. Till when amendments apply for this? So I think this till October 2021, whatever circulars have come, that will be relevant, correct?
Yeah. All the amendments, basically, amendments, 6 months prior to the examination are applicable for the said particular examination. So students who are going to appear in May 22 examination, all the amendments made by significant notification in circulars up to 31st October 2021 are applicable for you. And all the significant notification and circulars are already compiled, and they are web hosted under BOS Knowledge Portal as the statutory updates. So I will say that you must go through those statutory updates which are web hosted, and they cover all the significant notification and circulars.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So, good evening, students. After the insightful session from Ms. Swati, now we'll get on to the actual topic. So this is not the first session. We have already completed 2 sessions, which was introduction of tax and supply, which was a very important thing. So students who have missed out those classes can watch the video lectures. But the advantage of live lectures is if you have any questions, you can pose those questions and you will get answers for them. So that's the difference between video recorded, what you see, and what is being presented now. There'll be a lot of difference. So if you have spontaneously any questions, you can ask them and answers will be provided over here. Okay, so we understood what is supply. As I said, supply is a very important term under GST. And what if there is supply, then there is GST. If there is no supply, then there is no GST. So let us get into charge of GST. As I said, under Article 265, no tax shall be levied or collected except by an authority of law. Correct. So we had said that there can not be any levy without an authority of law. It is flowing from the Constitution itself, saying that any authority, anybody having power to collect, should have a proper authorization and proper charge. So a charge is very important in any law, right? So in GST also there is a charging section, because if the charging section is strong, only then the act will survive. That is the main pillar of any law. Like in excise, manufacturing is the charge. So once manufacturing happens, then the excise duty is levied. Similarly, in these GST law also, there is a charging section. That is where we are discussing what is the charging section in today's session. The power to levy tax is drawn from the Constitution, right? All the power is from the Constitution. Hence, the 101st Amendment Act was passed, because if that act did not say that there shall be levied taxes by the central government and state government, then it wouldn't have created this GST at all, because they would not have any power. So to have the powers, the amendment in the Constitution was very much essential. So that's the reason the Constitution amendment was passed. The basis of charge is the taxable event. The occurrence of an event which triggers the levy of tax is a charge, right? So there has to be some event. Once that event happens, then I will charge, is what the Constitution says, or the legislative says, saying that if this event happens, then I will collect the charge, then I will collect the tax, otherwise I will not collect. So let us take an example that I prepare food, I am at a restaurant. Now, once I eat food, is it a charge? No, it is not a charge, because charge is not at the point of time when I eat something. Charge is at a point when the hotelier sells me the food and he raises the invoice. So that is the point when the charge is triggered. Any activities done before and any activities done after is not a charge. So there is a specific point which is defined. That is the point when the charge triggers. So for any charge to be levied, there are called as 4 pillars of taxation, right? The 4 pillars of taxation that together constitute the cornerstone for levy are enshrined in section 9.1. Okay, so the section 9.1 is the charging section. What the section 9.1 say is what we are discussing today. So remember, section 7 is defining what is supply. Once supply has been defined, then we come to section 9. Section 9 says what is a charge. what is GST levied on. Okay, the taxable event in GST is supply. Now, what are the 4 pillars? What I was saying in respect of charge is, you could note this down. First is the taxable event. There has to be a taxable event defined in the charging section, saying that this example, manufacturing in excise is a taxable event. Similarly, in GST, the taxable event is supply. So the first pillar is taxable event. The second is the tax rate. Third is collection or levy. Repeat, the first is the taxable event. Second is the rate of tax. The third pillar is the collection or levy. And fourth one is the person who will pay. Who will pay the tax? Okay, that also has to be defined. So any law you take, these 4 things has to be there. Only then it is called as a levy is complete. Okay, this was held in one of the Supreme Court's case itself, wherein they've said that if all these 4 pillars are there, then only you would say that the levy is complete. Okay, so we'll see how these 4 things are there in our section 9. Okay, before getting into section 9, understand what is CGST, SGST, IGST. We have discussed this, right? Now we'll recapitulate what is this. CGST stands for Central Goods and Service Tax. This is applicable on supplies within the state. So on intra-state supply, you will find that CGST and SGST is collected. CGST stands for Central Goods and Service Tax. SGST stands for State Goods and Service Tax. So whenever there is an intra-state sale, CGST and SGST is collected, right? The tax collected by the CGST, whatever we collect as CGST, that will go to the center. Whatever we collect as SGST, that will go to the state. Okay, so whatever we collect as CGST goes to the center, and whatever we collect as SGST goes to the state. There is another levy called IGST, because what these 2 things we said was on intra-state transaction. Now, what happens when we do an interstate transaction? We collect IGST. So if I say the GST rate is 18%, which it means that 9% is CGST, 9% is SGST. And if I say I'm doing an intra-state transaction, then I will collect IGST, which will be equivalent to the whole 18% itself. So the total summation of CGST and SGST is IGST. IGST stands for Integrated Goods and Service Tax. This is applicable on interstate and import transactions also. Why? Because in the Constitution, they've said all import transactions will be treated as interstate transactions, and on interstate transactions, IGST is levied. Now, whatever tax is collected as IGST is shared between the center and the state. Now, there's a question, what is the difference between charge and taxable event? What is the difference between charge and taxable event? When we see section 9, we'll see that the whole section 9 is a charging section. For charging section, the 4 pillars should be there. One of the subset is a taxable event. Okay, like in GST, taxable event is supply. Now, once I say supply, does it mean that, okay, it is a charge? No, it doesn't complete the charge. Taxable event is one of the legs for a charge. Once I say supply is leviable to charge, then the tax rate has to be defined. The person who will pay has to be defined, and at what event it has to be paid. So the 4 legs, what I said, all the 4 legs is important. One of the legs, one of the subsets for charge is taxable event. So taxable event is one of the subset of a charge. So charge is very broader than the taxable event. When is it local supply of goods or services? So there is one person and he wants to move the goods. Now, if both of them are in the same state, wherein the location of supplier, so how do we define whether it is an interstate transaction or an intrastate transaction? Is by defining 2 terms. What is the location of the supplier and what is the place of supply? So this is the location of the supplier and place of supply. When the location of the supplier and place of supply both are in the same state, then it is treated an intrastate supply. right? What will you charge in this case? You will charge CGST and SGST. Now, when the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same union territory, then what will you charge? Because when we know state, that's fine. But what happens in case of a union territory? It will be treated in par with the state itself. When the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same state, then you will charge CGST and UTGST. UTGST means Union Territory Goods and Service Tax, right? Now, what do you mean by UTGST? Now, in India, we have states as well as we have union territories. So if there is any transaction in a union territory, then union territory will collect the tax. That is the 50% of the tax, and the other 50% will be collected by the central. So in case of a state, it will be CGST and SGST. In case of UT, union territory, it will be UT plus CGST, right? Now, what is the meaning of state? State is defined under the GST law as it includes all the union territories. State is defined as all states of India, and it includes a union territory with legislature, which means if a union territory, we have close to 7 union territories. In the 7 union territories, you have 2 UTs which are with legislature, which means it's a union territory, but it has a separate legislature. It is not governed by the governor. Generally, all other UTGST, you will have the governor running it. But if there is a UT with legislature, then there will be a specified chief minister who's appointed, like the union territories of Delhi, Puducherry, and Jammu and Kashmir. Now, these 3 union territories have legislature. So they are also included as a state. Suppose Puducherry, if you see, Puducherry has its own legislature. So it will not be UTGST, which will be part of it. It will be a Puducherry GST law, which will be part of it. So state means all the states, all the natural states, and union territories with legislature, right? So for the purpose of GST law, union territories of Delhi, Puducherry, and Jammu and Kashmir are regarded as the state and will be governed by the respective SGST law itself instead of UTGST. Now, other union territories like Diu and Daman and Nagar and Haveli, and you have the union territory of Ladakh. So there are other union territories for whom the respective UTGST will apply. Okay. Now, what is an interstate supply? When the location of the supplier and place of supply are in 2 different states, then it is treated as an interstate supply. Fine. On this interstate supply, we will charge IGST. Clear? Now, let us understand what is the extent of GST. GST applies to what jurisdiction location, what all geographical location. CGST Act Section 1 says CGST Act extends to the whole of India. We have seen that earlier Jammu Kashmir was reluctant, but within 8 days of when GST came in, they also became part of the GST law. So GST law is applicable to whole of India, including state of Jammu, including the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, whole of India, when I say, I have to define what is India, and India is defined under Section 2, subsection 56, which means the territory of India as defined in Article 1 of the Constitution. So what is defined under Article 1 of the Constitution of India, as India is covering all the states, it has all the boundaries that applies. Then it also includes the territorial waters. Okay, what is territorial waters? I'll just explain you in the next slide. So apart from India, the borders of India is extended beyond the borders. So whatever waters we have, whatever ocean, if you go south, Indian Ocean is there. So is the full Indian Ocean belongs to India? No, that's the name given to the ocean as Indian Ocean, but up to certain limits, up to certain length, India, the waters are also part of Indian territory itself. That's why some territorial waters, the seabed and subsoil underlying such waters, below the waters also is India. That's the reason when you know India and Sri Lanka, you'll see that some fishers, when they do fishing, they are permitted to do fishing within the territorial waters. If they cross, then the Sri Lankan army says that we will prison them because they have crossed the territorial waters. So only up to the territorial waters of India, anybody is permitted to do anything. The Indian citizens are permitted to do anything. Anything beyond it, it is not our control. So yeah, if you cross them, then it's an illegal activity. The territorial waters, seabed and subsoil underlying such water, continental shelf, exclusive economic zones, or any other maritime zone as defined. Continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and as defined under territorial waters, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and other maritime zones act. And the airspace above its territory and territorial waters. So whatever length we are discussing, India is the territory of the constitution of the baseline, then the territorial waters, below the territorial waters, and above it. So above the sky, the airspace above it also belongs to India. So what does that mean? If I do any kind of a drone, if I develop a drone, I can run it only up to the limits of the territorial waters, because beyond it I cannot go. So that's the reason you'll see that any drone, whatever is developed, not like what is told in movies that they will deploy a drone in other countries and they will see what is happening. So that's really not practical, because you have that, then anybody's drone will come to our country and see what we are doing, right? So that's not that's only in the movies that it happens, but practically that doesn't happen. You can use your drone activity only up to the territorial water. Even that too also, there is no permission granted by the defense till now. So you practically cannot use drones even beyond the borders of India. Okay, the state law extends how CGST Act extends to the whole of India. Similarly, state GST law extends to the whole of that state. State includes the union territory with legislation, that is Delhi, Puducherry and J&K. UTGST law extends to the union territory of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So there are these union territories which there is no legislation. So that's the reason these are union territories which are guided by the UTGST Act. Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep, Dadar and Nagar Haveli, and Daman and Diu. So this is one union territory now. Earlier there were two union territories which have been merged. Now the one union territory has four names in it: Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. And Ladakh is a separate UT and Chandigarh is a separate union territory. So these are the union territories. Now I was saying that we'll discuss what is territorial waters. Territorial waters is 12 nautical miles from the baseline. So this is the India map. Say this is the base of the border of India. So where the land finishes from this baseline up to 12 nautical miles is called as territorial sea. From that point, another 12 miles is called contiguous zone. Okay. And from this baseline up to 200 nautical miles is a exclusive economic zone. So up till this is called as India because it extends to, these are the territorial waters, the territorial sea, the continental zone and exclusive economic zone. Up till this it is India, and beyond that is a high sea. Okay. So beyond that is called as a high sea, which is not part of India. That is not part of any other country also. It's a common sea area. So up till 200 nautical miles from the baseline is exclusive economic zone. Okay. So that's why submarine and things like that can go up to this, can't go beyond it. So this is the definition of India and meaning of India. So Delhi is the question. So Delhi is a union territory, but why SGST applicable in Delhi, not UTGST? I answered this, Siddhant. You got your answer. Sir, in IGST, why is revenue shared between center and state? Good question. So if it is IGST, it is central, then why should be distributed between center and state? See, IGST is a mechanism wherein tax of one state is transferred to another state because the credit has to pass on. So whatever is collected as IGST is collected both by the central, it's collected by the central, but it has to be by the state also, because state also is involved in the interstate sales, saying that something I'm transferring from my state to another state, it was produced in my state. So my state also needs revenue. That's the reason my state has agreed that, okay, whatever IGST you collect, after you transfer the credit to the other state, whatever is left out, then it has to be distributed because I also have a share in it. Right, so they'll derive at the formula on how it is to be distributed, and that will be distributed. Charge, how can we define? Let's read section 9. Up to 12 nautical miles is territorial water body, correct? What is meant by territories? Please explain when UTGST charge. UTGST is charged when any transaction is made within the union territory or from one union territory to another union territory, then UTGST will be charged. What makes it different and acceptable to travel in another country, sir? What permission to be taken? So if now that is called as so that's what is called as invasion, right? So when you go to another country without law, without any visa and permission, so that's called as illegal activities. So that is not permitted, right? You just cannot travel to any other country without having valid visa. You'll have to have a valid visa saying from your country you are going out, okay, and from the other country saying that you are coming to the other country. Because a traveler also cannot visit the place beyond the limits. So you can say for 1 month, 2 months, or maximum 3 months. Or some countries have permission to stay over there as a traveler for up to 6 months. So you cannot stay beyond that. So the visa will have the stamping. You go there and then you'll have to return back. So if supply is between Delhi and Haryana, then CGST and SGST is leviable, or UTGST and CGST is leviable because Delhi is a union territory. Delhi is a union territory. Haryana is a state. So any supply between Delhi and union territory, you'll have to levy IGST, not other taxes. Okay. So we've understood what is a continental shelf and what is the territorial waters. Now let's get into section 9, which is the main levy section. Okay, which is the charging section. Charge or levy, it's the same. Section 9 says, subject to the provisions of subsection 2. What definition should I remember, sir? Section 7 and section 9, I would suggest you to remember, because if you remember these section, most of your questions revolving around charge and supply will get answered. You don't have to go beyond it. So what does section 9 says? Subject to the provisions of subsection 2, there shall be levied a tax called the Central Goods and Service Tax. There shall be levied a tax called the CGST on all intrastate supplies of goods or services, or both. Okay, supply of goods or services or both, except on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Except on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption, on alcoholic liquor for human consumption, there is no GST. It's on what the tax shall be levied. It shall be levied on the value which is determined under section 15, and at such rates not exceeding 20%, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council, and collected in such manner as may be prescribed, and shall be paid by the taxable person. So many things are getting covered here. What does it start off with? It says that there shall be levied a tax. So charging section says that there shall be levied a tax. Now, what is this tax called? This tax is called as CGST. Now, on what it shall be collected? It shall be collected on intrastate supplies. So whenever I make intrastate supply, on that CGST will be collected of goods or services or both, except, so there's an exception, on the value which is determined under section 13 at such rates which shall be prescribed. So they cannot prescribe in the law that this will be the rate. The prescription means there should be a notification saying that on these goods and on these services, these are the specified rates. So the rate will be there in the schedule. But power is from this. The power is flowing from section 9 saying that I am giving a power to the legislative authority, which is the administrative authority. So this is the legislative authority which is drafting the section. After drafting the section, they've said that the administrative authority will give you a notification and they will tell you what is the rate. That rate you follow. Okay, such rate not exceeding 24%, 20%. So whatever is the rate, it cannot exceed 20%. Okay, how can it be 20%, sir? Sir, similar to CGST Act, we have SGST Act also of the respective states. That is what we have understood now. So whatever CGST Act applies, similar mirror image applies for the SGST Act also. 99.5% provisions of CGST are there in SGST also. So all of these machinery provisions, all of these charging provisions, supply provisions are there in SGST Act also. So whatever is charged, discussed here will apply to the SGST Act also, will apply to the UTGST Act also. So I will collect half tax here, half there. So on my interstate supply, this law also will apply and the respective SGST law also will apply. So whenever I'm doing an intrastate supply, this and that both will apply. And what will be the rate? The maximum rate can be 20% under this, 20% under SGST. So the maximum GST rate which can be levied is 40%. Okay. So because it says not exceeding 20% as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council. We saw that council has the power. So council will also recommend based on the recommendation of the council, the government will notify what is the GST rates on various products and services. Okay. So suppose when you're saying 18%, 9% under CGST, 9% under SGST. Okay, that shall be the rate, and it shall be collected in such manner as may be prescribed. How it shall be collected, that will also be defined through a notification, and shall be paid by the taxable person. It shall be paid by the taxable person. What are the important things to note here? This is levy. We said the four limbs, all the four limbs are present here. What it shall be levied on? It shall be levied on intrastate supply. What shall be the rate? It shall be notified. So power is given here on who should be the pay, who shall pay the tax, taxable person. On what value? Value is determined under section 15. So all the four legs are present here, right? So it is a complete charging section. Now what is excluded here? Let's understand that with section 2. Subsection 2 says the central tax on the supply of petroleum, crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, which is commonly known as petrol, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel, shall be levied with effect from such date as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council. So petroleum products ke liye GST is not levied now. It shall be levied in the future, which will be notified by the government. So this is there from the day GST Act has come in, which is 1st July 2017. Tab se ab tak there is no levy on all of these products. In some time in the future, when the government is prepared and when the GST Council recommends, on these 5 products also GST will be levied. So as on today, GST is levied on everything except alcoholic liquor for human consumption, okay, and on these 5 petroleum products. When we studied first chapter, we said these are non-taxable supplies, or this is outside GST itself. So on alcoholic liquor, what is levied? On alcoholic liquor, state excise is levied. On petroleum products, these 5 products, what is levied? Central excise is levied, and VAT or CST is levied. Okay, but GST is not levied on both of them. Now, sir, I've said that it shall be paid by a taxable person, which means what? There is a difference between a taxable person and a registered person. So if I am not registered, then should I not pay tax? No, they have not said. Suppose I have done lot of transaction, lot of turnover, and I have not registered. Can I say I have not done registration, so I'll not pay tax? No, that's not possible. The tax is levied on and shall be paid by the taxable person. They have not said it should be paid by registered person. So registered person is a small set, taxable person is a big set. A person who is not registered is also taxable. Why, sir? Why are you saying this? Taxable person means any person. The definition of taxable person is a person who is liable to obtain registration, or a person who has already obtained registration. So a person who is already obtained registration, he is a taxable person, and a person who is liable to obtain registration. Who is liable to obtain registration? There is a limit, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs. We have seen this. You will again see it in registration chapter. A person who has crossed 10 lakhs limit in specified states, or 20 lakh limits in specified states, or 40 lakh limits, they are liable to registration. So if a person who is doing 1 crore turnover and he's not registered, still he is liable to pay because he's crossed the limit and he is a taxable person. So taxable person is different from registered person. Taxable person includes registered person and all those persons who are liable for registration, right? So this is a bigger, broader perspective. They're saying that clearly that a person who is not registered but he's liable for registration, he is also liable to pay GST. It shall be paid by the taxable person. Okay. Questions here? If goods are transferred from one state to union territory, then what is to be charged? Very good question. So if there's a movement of goods from one state to union territory, that also is a IGST transactions. On that also IGST has to be levied. What if the transaction takes place within the union territory? Then UT GST and CGST will apply. Sir, is chargeable transaction between Karnataka and Puducherry? What is chargeable in case of transaction between Karnataka and Puducherry? One is a state, one is a union territory. So any transaction between 2 different states or 1 state and 1 union territory from one union territory to another union territory. They are different, right? Different locations. So they will always charge IGST. Okay, they will always charge IGST. Difference between contiguous union and exclusive economic zone. not relevant for our discussion, but they have defined the limits, the levels. Okay, exclusive economic zone, like you have special economic zones, they are treated as a country outside India. So they are also, but they are physically within India. So all of those zones are treated as part of India itself. If goods or services sent from UT to any GST, any other state, IGST will apply. So in case of interstate supplies, in which manner central government share the IGST to both the states? See, we'll see that how the input tax credit works. So input tax credit works that when I purchase something within the state, the vendor will charge me CGST and SGST. Now this CGST and SGST, I will claim the credit. Now what I have with me, CGST and SGST. Now when I sell something, I will charge IGST. When I do a transaction of IGST, I can claim this credit. So I'm converting the CGST and SGST to IGST. So when I do a IGST transactions, I will have to provide the details to the government. What am I utilizing it for? So when if I utilize CGST for this, then the CGST is getting converted to IGST. So when this IGST goes to the other state, the credit, whatever I have, has to get transferred because I'm converting the SGST credit to IGST. So when my local taxes, whatever was charged by my vendor, this credit was lying with me. This gets transferred, exported to the other state. The IGST is like a kind of a settlement mechanism saying that the credit what I had was SGST. This state credit is getting converted to IGST. So the government will transfer this to the other state. So that's how the credit gets transferred. So these are all back-end process which the portal, GST portal will do it. But you need to understand that yes, the credit is getting transferred from one state to another state. That's how the credit moves over. Now, when the credit moves over, because the other person who's buying from me, he has to get the credit. How will he get the credit? Once the central government transfers my credit to him, right? So when the credit gets transferred, that will become his IGST credit. He can utilize that for his local taxes. That's how the credit gets transferred. So whatever is left out will be apportioned between the respective center and the state through a apportion rule. So there is a separate act on settlement of funds. Okay, so through that provisions, the funds gets settled. So will the charge be the same for transaction between UT and center and between UT and UT? Between one UT, within the UT, it will be UT GST and CGST, but within one UT to another UT, it will be IGST. So if supply is taking place within Delhi, then what tax is leviable? Within Delhi, we had said that it is Delhi with legislature, right? So there will be CGST and SGST which will be levied within a Delhi. So Delhi GST plus CGST. But Delhi has their own state legislature. So between two states, Haryana and Delhi is interstate supply. Yes, Haryana and Delhi is an interstate supply. Why fuel and alcohol is not under GST? It will still take time because alcohol is a major revenue for the state government and on fuel, it is a major revenue for the central government. So that's the reason they have not yet brought under the GST net. Means GST can never be more than 40%. Yeah, as long as this act is there, what we are reading, it cannot change. Later on, if they want to increase it, then they have to change the act itself. And changing the act, if they do, then they can increase the GST rate. But as of today, the law is there cannot be GST more than 40%. Taxable person can be a buyer in case of reverse charge mechanism. Yes, taxable person can be it cannot be told as a taxable person. When we come to section 9.4, we'll understand that what is reverse charge and when can he be a taxable person. If a transaction takes place between two union territories, then UT GST will be charged? No. If a transaction takes between two union territories, then IGST will be charged. Okay. Why am I saying this? The IGST law is clear saying that any transaction between one state to another state, one union territory to another union territory, or from one state to another union territory, or union territory to state, the IGST has to be levied. In case of IGST, which state receives ITC claim? The receiving state. So if I'm selling some goods from Karnataka to Rajasthan, Rajasthan will receive the ITC claim because when I sell something, the other person gives me the GST, right? The GST works on a fungible model, weighing that if I'm making an interstate transaction also, I can pass on the credit. So this credit will go to the Rajasthan state. Can you explain ITC by numerical example? Input tax credit, we have a separate chapter, but just, okay, if you want to understand ITC by numerical example, I'll explain that to you. So that mean, if I'm just telling ITC, and if you're not able to understand, that will not be helpful. So let me explain you what is ITC through an example. Okay. Now this is the example of what is an ITC, how is ITC, how does it flow from one state to another state. Please pay attention to this. There is a supply transaction which takes place within the state by Rahul Dravid to Anil Kumble. Now Rahul Dravid also is in the state of Karnataka and Anil Kumble is also in the state of Karnataka. What is he supplying? He's supplying some goods. The value of supply is 10,000 rupees. GST is 9%. CGST 9%, SGST. So total rate is 18%. He's charging something. Anil Dravid is supplying something to Anil Kumble. So 10,000 is the value and 900 is the tax. Okay. Now when he sells this, he will charge this in his invoice 11,800. Suppose Rahul Dravid does not have any credit. He is the person who's manufactured something on his own. So he does not have any credit. Now he will pay 900 to the central government, 900 to the state government. 900 goes to the central government. So revenue to CG means revenue to the central government. Revenue to Karnataka is how much? 900. Right? Only these two states are involved, nothing to Delhi. Just keep that aside. So 900 to the center, 900 to the state. Now next transaction is, now when Anil Kumble has bought it, right? It is an input credit for him. And he sells that goods to Sehwag, who is in Delhi. Okay. So once Anil Kumble sells it to Delhi, okay, he is supplying at 12,000 rupees. What will he charge? Because this is the transaction from Karnataka to Delhi. So he will charge IGST. So he will charge IGST at 18% on the sale value. On 12,000, he's charging IGST and total price charge is 14,160. Now, we have a mechanism of input tax credit wherein the IGST, whatever I have to pay, I can pay it by utilizing my credit what I have. So what credit I will first use? When I'm paying IGST, I will use first IGST. So there are three buckets. I've shown you that, no, in the first slide. What are the three buckets, how it works? So IGST is my liability. I can utilize if I have any IGST credit. In my example, what credit does Anil Kumble has? He has 900 CGST in his kitty and SGST 900 in his kitty. That is called as input credit because he's purchased something and he's selling it. That is his input credit. So that input credit, what he has, he will utilize for paying this IGST. He will collect 2,160 as IGST, but on the same thing, he's already paid the taxes. So we said that double taxation is not the day, not the call of the day. So I will not pay double taxation. Whatever taxes I've bought it, I've already paid tax on that. So I will reduce that credit. So IGST, first I will use IGST credit, which I don't have. Second, what credit I will use? CGST credit. I have credit of CGST of 900. Then I also have a credit of SGST of 900, right? So balance, how much I have to pay to the government? I've utilized my credit fully. Out of 2,160, 1,800 is what I've utilized. Balance of 360 is payable to the government. So I'll pay IGST of 360 to the government, right? This directly goes to the central government IGST transactions. Now this IGST, when it goes, 360 it goes. Now I've said I have to pay 2,160 to the central government, but I have paid only 360. So balance 1,800, how will that IGST department, the central government get it? So this credit of 900 will get transferred. Okay. Earlier this was lying with Karnataka, right? This Karnataka government say it will reduce and give that to the central government. Okay. So total what happens from 900, it moves from the Karnataka state to the central government. So central government will effectively get 900 plus 360, 1,260 and 900 anyways is there with the central government. So for that transfer is not required. CGST means Central Goods and Service Tax, which is the center. It already has 900. For this, transfer is not required. But this credit of SGST, it was there with Karnataka government. Now the goods are moving from Karnataka to Delhi. So this credit will get reduced from Karnataka's kitty and go to the central government. Okay. Then what happens in the third leg? The transaction of Sehwag. Now Sehwag is again selling it to another person called Ishan Sharma in Delhi. He is selling at 14,400. He will charge same CGST 9%, SGST 9%. 16,992 is the sale value total. Now, how much is the CGST payable? 1,296. What is the credit I have when Sehwag purchased? The other person has charged him IGST of 2,160. So I will reduce 1,296 because I have to pay 1,296. So I will use only 1,296. When I have to pay SGST 1,296, I will utilize the balance credit. Total 2,001 credit of IGST which I had. Of that, I've utilized 1,296. So if I've utilized 1,296, balance credit, I have 864 rupees. Right? Do I have any credit of SGST with me? No, I had only credit of IGST, so I cannot utilize that. So this much is payable to the central government, state government, because state government I had to pay 1,296. I have utilized 864, right? And I have balance I paid to the government 432. So this 432 directly goes to the state government. Now, state government was supposed to get 1,296, but it has received, I have utilized the credit of IGST 864. So the central government will give to the state government by taking off the amount from its central government's balance and giving it to the state government. So it will give 864 to the state. Okay, so it gives 864 to the state. Total, this is the end customer. So SGST means the state has to get 1,296, it has got. Center has to get 1,296, it has got, because earlier whatever it collected, 900, 360, it had collected excess. So by transfer of credit, this has got, he has also, the central government also has got 1,296. So the end customer, when he pays, that's when this cycle ends. Okay, but actually the cycle keeps going on, right? There are various transactions like this. So when we report the transactions on the monthly returns, the government sees what is the place of supply, what is the place of supply, and then moves the credit from one state to another. This is how the ITC works, and this is how the credit moves from CGST, SGST to IGST. Okay, I'll keep this open. Is there any questions here? So in case of intrastate transaction, intrastate tax will be collected separately or it will be divided later? No, it will be collected together itself. So in my example, you see, when I've charged something in case of an intrastate transaction, in my invoice only, I'll collect both the taxes. And when I do the returns, I will report it saying that this is my CGST and this is my SGST, and I'll pay the respective taxes to the respective governments. From our perspective, it will be one challan, but at the settlement end, the funds will go to the, if it is a SGST plus IGST transaction, SGST will go to the state, IGST will go to the center. If it is a union territory transaction, the UT-GST part will go to the union territory and CGST part will go to the central government. How GST is applicable in case of transportation of manufactured cars transported through a truck, whether both covered under GST truck and goods? No. In case of a conveyance which is used for transportation of goods, like a truck is used for transporting of goods, then on the truck, there is no GST because it's only a conveyance. Only the car which you are moving from one state to another state, on that GST will apply. What do you mean by central tax? Central tax means the CGST. Sir, simply can we say that except intrastate and intra-UT GST, IGST will be not so easily, because it is not that whatever is not intrastate and intra-UT GST transaction, everything is interstate. What is interstate is defined, only that is leviable to IGST tax. If I sell goods from Kerala to Karnataka to Kerala, I am a registered dealer, then I need to pay IGST, then it is not an input tax. If I sell goods from Karnataka to Kerala, I am a registered dealer, then I need to pay IGST. Yeah, I need to pay IGST. Then it is not an input tax credit. Madhuri, your question is not clear. What is second? Next question. What is the meaning of legislature or without legislature? Legislature or without legislature means the union territory which having a legislature means it has its own state legislature. It is having its own UT legislature, wherein it will have a state legislature. Like every state, how it has a legislature, you will have MPs over there, right? So even a union territory will have a legislature. They will do the legislation of its own thing. It is not governed by the governor. But other union territories which are not having legislature means they are not having a governing body. The governor itself will run that union territory. Okay. So when it has a legislature, it will be called as a state. When will UT-GST be applicable? UT-GST will be applicable if there is any transaction within the union territory. Within the union territory, you will have UT-GST and CGST payable. In case of all intra-UT-GST supplies, except in case of Delhi, UT-GST will be charged. Correct. UT-GST and the CGST both will be charged. So for the same product, can the GST rate change? Like in our example, can it go from 18 to 28% next stage of value addition? Yes, Parth. It can go if it is not the same product. If it's a traded commodity, then I'm trading, then the rate will be same. But if I do some value addition, okay, then the rate can go from 18 to 28. Like papers, I buy paper and I sell papers. Say on papers, the rate is 12%. So if I buy a paper and sell paper, it is 12%. Now on that same paper, if I've done a map, then maps are at 5%. So on the same product of 18% what I bought, I will sell it at 5%. So same product, the rates can change if the nature of the product is changed. ITC is only available for middlemen. Not middleman, a person who is registered under GST, you should tell. Middleman is not the right word. Any person who is registered under GST, a trader, manufacturer, anybody who is registered under GST, if they're buying something, they can claim credit and do it. Do ITC is received? Do really ITC is received? Are we paying net tax after adjusting the ITC? You see that your ITC is actually reflecting in your electronic credit ledger. So we will see what is electronic credit ledger. It is a ledger which you can see on your portal. You can see a ledger called electronic credit ledger. All your ITCs will come and sit there. Once you file your return, you'll see that your ITC goes up. How it goes up? Because I've claimed it. So once you claim it, your ITC goes up. Sehwag to Ishant, you didn't get. Sehwag is also in Delhi. Ishant also is in Delhi. When both the people are in Delhi, then it is a IGST transaction. So it will be leviable to IGST. In that example, Karnataka is where supply arises, but they are not getting paid any taxes, right? Because the goods moved from Karnataka to another state, so they are not getting anything. So GST is a consumption-based tax. The taxes move when the goods or services move. So as and when initially the Karnataka will get it, but they will have to pass it on to the other state because Karnataka was not a consuming state. So wherever is a consuming state, that will get the thing. Namrata, you understood it. Very good. Same way in case of UT-GST. Yes, in case how SGST, CGST have explained. Similarly, UT-GST also. Alcoholic liquor can never come under GST regime. It's because our constitution, liquor for human consumption, get out of GST by way of definition. Very good. Clear answer. CGST goes to central government, SGST goes to state government. Then where does IGST go? IGST also goes to the central government only. So we have to pay GST when we sell and in RCM when we purchase, or we have to pay GST on purchase also. RCM we'll discuss, give me some time, we'll discuss on RCM also. Sir, if I'm selling goods to Tamil Nadu from Telangana, so many questions today. We are like in the 4th, 5th slide. And so many questions. Good. If you are attentive and if your queries are getting resolved, I'm happy to spend some more time on this. The main thing was to explain you how the credit works, how the GST is charged. So once you're confident on this, the nitty-gritties also you'll understand very clearly. If I'm selling goods to Tamil Nadu from Telangana, Tamil Nadu, 2 different states, then I have to pay IGST. Correct. You have to pay IGST. How can I come to know about my credit of IGST and CGST? So your credits is your credits. If you have 3 bank accounts and if you pay from one bank account, will you not know the balance? What are there in other 2 bank accounts? You will know, right? Similarly, IGST, CGST are the credits which are available with you, are available. You can practically see it. So once you have to pay IGST, you will know how much is the credit you have in the other CGST and SGST account and you can utilize it. If utilized SGST credit against CGST, how credit moves? CGST and SGST credit is not utilizable. I'll take you through the slide again to make you understand. how the credit works and how the credit does not work. Yeah, how does the credit work? I have input tax credit of CGST tax. I can utilize this for payment of my output CGST first, and then I can utilize for payment of my IGST. First CGST I will use for CGST, then without output IGST, the credit gets exhausted. If there's something balance, okay, there could be a balance. In my example, I'm saying that how we will utilize the credit. Then SGST input tax credit, I will utilize for SGST. Then if there's any balance, I will utilize for IGST. See, in these two slides, I've not told that CGST, after utilizing of CGST and IGST, I can utilize for SGST. No, not possible. Similarly, SGST, after utilizing with SGST, I will utilize with IGST. If something is balanced, it will be a balance. It cannot be utilized for CGST. But IGST, whatever is the credit, I will utilize first for IGST output liability, then with CGST and SGST in any order. But cross claim between CGST and SGST is not possible. Okay, understand always, whatever CGST liability I have, and I have lot of SGST credit, can I offset SGST with CGST? No, not possible. Similarly, CGST and SGST credits cannot be utilized because there'll be a lot of confusion there. Everything will be paid off. So CGST and SGST credit cannot be utilized. IGST credit can be utilized for IGST, CGST, and SGST. Always manufacturer does not get ITC. Manufacturer can get ITC if he is purchasing some raw materials on which the supplier charges GST, then he can get ITC. When government notifies date under section 92, can dates be different for the 5 items? Yes, dates can be different for each of the 5 items. What is RCM? 9.3 and 9.4. If your questions are getting reduced, then I'll move to 9.3 and 9.4 and I'll explain what is RCM. Does every dealer gets credit of IGST? Yes, he gets credit of IGST, CGST, SGST, except a composition dealer, which we will discuss in next class. So every dealer gets the credit of CGST, SGST, and IGST. All of these credits will be available. But a composition dealer, when he's registered as a composition dealer, his rates will be low. He will not get any credit. And when is IGST applicable? When I make a sale transactions from the state of Karnataka, I'm selling goods to Rajasthan. So these are 2 different states. When 2 different states are involved, I will sell with IGST. Okay. Another example, from Karnataka to Tamil Nadu, I'm providing any services. So when I raise an invoice for services, this is my location of supplier is Karnataka and place of supply is in Tamil Nadu. Okay. Suppose I'm an interior designer. I'm registered in Karnataka. Now the client is in Tamil Nadu. I am there, right? So he is there and I am here. But I go there and do some activity. It is an example of an interstate transaction on which of a service and I will charge IGST. Clear, Sushil? Is there any expiry of balance lying in electronic credit ledger? No. Once you claim the credit, then there is no expiry. Once you claim the credit, it is your credit always. So I want to ask, we have to pay GST on sell and purchase also. We can use the ITC of sell against the tax payable on purchase. Correct. Correct, Namrata. Your question answer understanding is correct. Only credit of IGST will get, or will get credit of SGST and CGST also. CGST and SGST also, you will get the credit. Delhi to UT, IGST applies. Correct. If CGST credit is not sufficient for IGST, then balance of SGST could be utilized. Yes, it can be utilized. In Gujarat, CGST and SGST, Gujarat to Maharashtra, IGST, correct. Delhi, then CGST and SGST, Delhi to Gujarat, IGST, yes. Within UT GST, UT to Delhi or any other state, IGST. Yeah, all of these examples are correct, Gajjar. Now, construction people, can they get ITC? We'll come to that, saying that wherever there is a restrictive rate or a composition rate or a special rate given, like restaurant service, when you eat food, how much do they charge? All restaurants will charge at 5% only, because on restaurant services, the rate of tax is 5%, but they've said that you charge less rate and you should not claim any credit. So such person will not get any credit. Is there any limit to claim ITC? Yes, Rekha Kumari, there is a time limit to claim ITC. We will discuss in ITC what is the time limit, but once we claim it, then you can utilize for any number of times. So once there is a time limit to claim it, once I claim, I can utilize it anytime. What if we use wrong ITC? If you use wrong ITC, then you can reverse the ITC and claim the correct ITC. Okay, so if you have claimed mistakenly or by fraudulently, if you do something, then that's a different thing. But by mistake, by error, human error, if you have claimed wrong ITC, then reverse the ITC, pay that to the government and claim the correct ITC. Section necessary to be written in an exam? Yes, important sections you have to write it. Okay. Now let's get into reverse charge mechanism. What is reverse charge mechanism? So 9.1, 9.2 we understood levy sections. Now let's get into 9.3. What is a taxable person? Everything we understood. 9.1, 9.2, 9.3. 9.3 says the government may, on the recommendation of the council, by notification, specify the categories of supply of goods or services or both, the tax on which shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of such goods or services or both, and all the provisions of this act shall apply to such recipient as if he is the person liable to paying the tax in relation to the supply of such goods or services. So 9.3 says that generally 9.1, 9.2 tax is paid by the supplier. 9.3 says that on specified category of goods or services or both, the tax shall be paid by the recipient. Instead of supplier paying it, recipient will pay it. Okay, that is 9.3. Now 9.3, how does it become effective? They've said that on the recommendation of the council by notification. So they have come up with two notifications. Notification number 4 of 2017 is for goods. Okay, and notification 13/2017. This is an important notification because reverse charge mechanism on goods is not there for you, but reverse charge mechanism on services is there for you. So the notification relevant is notification number 13/2017 central tax within bracket rate. So that is the notification in which services will be mentioned. Okay, so 9.3 is giving the power to notify, and the notification number is notification number 13 of 2017. And 9.4. 9.3 is also reverse charge and 9.4 also is reverse charge. 9.3 is on specified services, which is there in notification number 13. Sir, why are you just telling the notification number? I will also take you through the notification and I'll tell you what are all the services, because reverse charge is an important thing. You can definitely expect some question from the reverse charge. Now, what is reverse charge and what it applies? We'll go through the section, we'll go through the notification and understand it in detail. Then 9.4. 9.4 says the government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify a class of registered person who shall, in respect of supply of specified categories of goods or services received from an unregistered person, unregistered supplier, pay the tax on reverse charge basis as the recipient of such supply of goods or services, and all the provisions of this act shall apply to such recipient as if he is the person liable for paying the tax in relation to such goods or services, so supply of goods or services or both. So a recipient under 9.4, 9.3 is applicable to whom? 9.3 is applicable to specified category of people. 9.4 is applicable to whom? 9.4 is applicable to certain class in respect of supply of specified category of goods. So if we are buying some specified category of goods from an unregistered person, 9.3 says that you can buy from anybody, whether the other person is registered or no, doesn't matter. But if there is a specified category, specified list of goods or services, if you're buying from somebody, then it is 9.3. Otherwise, if you're buying from an unregistered person, then it is 9.4. Now, what all things, everything what I buy from an unregistered person, am I liable to reverse charge? 9.4, does it say so? No, that was the initial section which was there. So there could be some confusion. Somebody might tell, no, I know that the GST, when it started that when you buy from an unregistered person, you have to pay GST. But that section is gone away with. Now they've said that when you're buying something in respect of a specified category of goods or services, only on some specified, there is a notification again levied saying that if you buy from a specified class of people, and it is applicable only to specified class of registered person, like a builder or something like that, for them it is applicable, and you're buying specified category of goods, only then 9.4 will apply. So otherwise, the general notion that if I'm buying anything from an unregistered person, I have to pay reverse charge, that is not correct. Only on the specified category of goods or services and the specified category of persons, 9.4 will apply. Otherwise, 9.3 will apply only on the list what is there in this notification number 30. Okay. Rates of GST, there are 7 rates effectively. 0% is also one rate, 0.125%, 1.5%, 2.5%, 6, 9, and 14. So there are effectively 7 rates which is notified. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. 7 rates which are notified. Then there is something called as cess also. GST cess also is levied on some specified products. Now CGST is levied on all interstate transactions. This we know. On interstate transactions, IGST is levied on, that's fine. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside GST. GST and IGST is not levied on the following items and would be levied at a later date on the recommendation of the GST council. So those 5 products: petroleum crude, diesel, petrol, aviation turbine fuel, and natural gas. So on these things, GST will be levied later on. Now, what is reverse charge? To understand that, we know that what is the normal GST process? When I am supplying some goods to my buyer, I will supply the goods, he will pay me the value of the goods, and he will pay me the GST also. So along with the value of the goods, he'll pay me GST. This GST, after claiming the credit, etc., I will pay this to the government. So this is a normal GST payable. This I'm collecting and I'm paying. So this can also be called as forward charge, because I am the person who is collecting it and I'm paying it. So this is forward charge. But in case of reverse charge, supplier supplies the goods, the receiver pays the price, but the taxes, instead of flowing from year to year, it flows from year to the government directly. The receiver itself pays the tax to the government. This is called as reverse charge. Okay. So the supplier discharging his liability would not render the liability discharge, since the law imposes the obligation on the recipient. So the law imposes an obligation on the recipient, saying that you are a receiver of a certain category of goods and services. You pay taxes to me. Why is this reverse charge there? Let's take an example of a goods transport agency. Who is a goods transport agency? An agency which transports goods. Okay, but says that I will transport the goods. Now, if you tell me to register under GST and things like that, okay, people who are there under corporate sector and who are well-to-do, they will register and pay taxes to the government. But others, they will say, okay, if you ask me to do all of these things, I cannot do it. So the government said these are all unorganized sector, or there are some sectors which can lose out revenue to the government. So for those sectors, they've said that tax will be paid by the receiver. So if I am a registered person, I am a dealer. If I'm buying something from a I'm using the services of a goods transport agency for transporting my goods, then I am paying the money to him. So I will pay the money to him for the GTA services, but taxes on that I will have to pay as a recipient. So this is the concept of reverse charge mechanism, wherein taxes, instead of being paid by the supplier, is being paid by the recipient. Okay. Now this reverse charge are of two types, 9.3 and 9.4. Right? 9.3 is what we have said. 9.4 is a separate section. What is 9.3 and 9.4? Supply of specified category of goods or services only. Okay. Supply of specified category of goods, which is there in the notification, that would be 9.3. 9.4 is supply of specified category of goods or services made by an unregistered supplier to specified class of registered recipients. So 9.4 is not very big, saying that you buy from every unregistered person you have to pay. Only specified category of recipient, if they buy from an unregistered person, they have to pay. So 9.4, the limit is very small. When this 2-3 people who are buying from any unregistered person, they have to pay. But 9.3 is big. 9.3 says that whether the other person is registered or unregistered, you will have to pay GST on that. Okay. Now, what happens in case of reverse charge? A GTA supplying service to you. Now, if GTA, they've said that there is a reverse charge mechanism. Now, this reverse charge is applicable to you. Now, if the supplier pays, like take an example of another example of a lawyer. A lawyer provides services. Legal services are also under GST, under reverse charge. So, if a lawyer provides any service to a company, the company can it say that the lawyer has paid GST on it, so I will not pay. 9.3 says the tax is to be paid by the recipient. Now, if the lawyer mistakenly pays also, the liability on the recipient will not go away. There'll be double taxation, sir. Yes, there is a possibility that in some cases, the supplier also pays by mistake, and then you cannot say that he's paid it, so I will not pay. It's a double taxation and things like that. You cannot say it because the liability is on you as a recipient. So if it is on you, irrespective of whether the supplier is paid or not paid, you have to pay it. Okay. So you will have to pay it and not the supplier. Supplier, even if he's paid, there could be a question saying that there is a category of service on which reverse charge is applicable and the supplier is paid it. What do you advise to your client? You can still advise that the RCM GST on reverse charge mechanism has to be paid by the recipient, irrespective of whether the supplier is paid. If the supplier is paid, he can claim a refund for it, but you as a recipient, you will have to pay GST on RCM basis. If there is a credit available in both CGST and SGST and I have to pay IGST, then one of the CGST which I have to pay credit. You can claim, if you have to pay IGST, then you can claim both. You can claim the CGST and SGST in any proportion. Is notification number compulsory to write? At least this notification number 13 is compulsory to write. Receiver must be registered or no? No. Good question. Now, under 9.3 and 9.4, is the recipient required to be registered? In most of the cases, it says that the 9.3 says that recipient is liable to pay the taxes on behalf of the supplier as though he is the person who is supplying it. So, whatever provisions are applicable for a supplier will be applicable to receiver. Yes, if he's falling under 9.3 or 9.4, he will have to register. If he's not registered, he has to register and pay it. Okay, you cannot avoid it. So if you're receiving any of these specified category of services, then you have to register and pay it. Now, Om Jain, yes, your messages are reaching me. Please ask your question. How the recipient will pay GST to the government? Similarly, how the supplier pays, in that manner itself, recipient also will pay GST to the government. Okay. Now, On what items GST is applicable under reverse charge? So GST is applicable on specified some category of goods. So there is one notification number 4 of 2017 which specified what are the GST on goods. Some of the examples which is not covered for exam, but just for your reference: cash units, BD wrapper leaves, BD wrapper leaves, tobacco leaves, raw cotton, lottery by the state government or local authority, silk yarn, used vehicles, etc. are the goods on which reverse charge is applicable on goods. But on services, we have notification number 13 of 2017. We'll go through these notification and understand what are all the services on which reverse charge on services is applicable. We'll take a 5 minutes break here and we'll come back. What's the time now? 7:40. Before 7:50, we will start the session post break. how GST would be calculated on sale of used car for which ITC has been taken in the past. Where ITC has been taken in the past, for sale of used car, we have a margin scheme wherein on the sale minus purchase. अभी ठीक है सर? अभी? Okay. So GST on sale of used car, Mr. Sunil. GST on used car is levied. You have two schemes. One is margin scheme. So when there is a margin scheme will apply. On reverse charge mechanism, is there any minimum limit? Like under registration and all, we said 10 lakhs limit. But under RCM, there is no limit. So if you're taking lawyer services, say for 1 lakh rupees also, and your turnover is 0, but you have falling under category that you have to pay GST on reverse charge when you take any service from a lawyer. So then, irrespective of your turnover being 0 also, you have to register and pay it. So you have to be very careful. RCM services, generally people tend to miss out. So as a practical insight, when you are into practice, later on this, you'll have to remember that a person who's taking any services under reverse charge, okay, then he will have to register immediately and pay it. He will not get any threshold exemption limit. Now, what is this notification number 13 of 2017 is what we will read now. If a restaurant owner has no GST certificate, then can he charge GST from his customers? A person who is not registered cannot collect any taxes. So if a restaurant owner has no GST certificate, then he cannot charge GST. He has to pay GST from his own pocket. He cannot collect from his customers. So IGST goes only to CG or it is distributed to SG. IGST gets distributed to CG and SGST, CG and SG both. If there is a reverse charge, can I claim ITC and pay it? No. Reverse charge, if it is applicable, you have to pay GST by cash itself. You cannot claim credit. What do you mean by composition scheme? We'll discuss in the next class. GST mostly works on credit. Yes, GST mostly works on credit. If credit is not there, then GST will not work. Now we'll read on the reverse charge mechanism. Notification number 13 of 2017, central tax rate dated 28th June 2017. So I've not gone in the chronological order 1, 2, 3. I've gone in the order which is important for us from an examination perspective. But we will discuss all the categories. But I mentioned the important ones first. Services provided by an individual advocate, including a senior advocate or a firm of advocates by way of legal services directly or indirectly. Okay, so any legal services provided by an individual advocate, including a senior advocate, all this is the category of service, this is the supplier of service, and who is the recipient. So all these three conditions has to be satisfied, that the supply should be of these category of service, it should be by this supplier, and it should be by this recipient. Only then it is liable for reverse charge, not otherwise. What services? All legal services. Legal services means any services provided in relation to advice, consultancy, or assistance in any branch of law, in any manner, and includes representational services before any court, tribunal, or authority. So once a lawyer provides you any advice, consultancy, or assistance in any matter of law, or he makes any representation, he appears before court on behalf of you, then all of those services are legal services. Now, who should provide the services? An individual advocate, including a senior advocate or a firm of advocates. So any advocate providing any service to a business entity, They've not said registered entity again here. They've said any business entity located in a taxable territory. So if these cases are there, then recipient has to pay. So a business entity, if it's registered or not registered, if they are taking any legal services, then they have to pay RCM. Second is services supplied by an arbitral tribunal. So if in case of any disputes, we'll generally go to arbitral tribunal. So and any arbitral tribunal provides, they will not charge GST. If you are a business entity, then you have to pay GST on it. Services provided by way of sponsorship to any body, corporate or partnership firm. Okay. So services provided by way of sponsorship. So when I do any sponsorship services, I give money to a company or to any person. So when I give money to him, he is the supplier. He is supplying me sponsorship services. That's the reason I'm paying money to him. So when I pay sponsorship money to him, I am the recipient. If now, in case of sponsorship, here they have not used business entity. They have used the word body, corporate or partnership firm located in a taxable territory. So if a company or a partnership firm, okay, company or a partnership firm, now the partnership firm includes LLP. In the explanation, they've said that partnership firm includes LLP. So any body corporate, LLP or partnership firm makes any sponsorship to any event or something, then they have to pay reverse charge to the government. So the supplier who is receiving the sponsorship, like there is a company who is collecting the sponsorship, they will not pay GST. The company who is making the sponsorship, paying the sponsorship amount, they have to pay GST to the government. Okay. Advocate services, arbitral services, sponsorship services. So these are the services which are there under reverse charge. Services supplied by central government, state government, union territory, or local authority to business entity excluding. So renting, these things are excluded, but it is then below mentioned. So renting specified services, like renting specifically they have excluded because they wanted to include it in a separate place. And services by Department of Posts. Okay, all this postal services, speed post, life insurance, exemptions provided to a person other than the central government, state government, or a union territory. These are all not there under reverse charge. Okay. Because on postal and everything, at the time of collection itself, they will collect the thing. So when you go and do any registered post, whatever is the amount, say 25 rupees plus GST, they will collect. So postal services of excess parcel post or other services, it will be under forward charge itself. Services in relation to aircraft or a vessel inside or outside the presence of an airport. This is also outside RCM, but all other services other than this will be under RCM. So when you receive any services from the government, if you are a business entity, you have to pay GST under RCM. Services supplied by the central government, state government, union territory by way of renting of immovable property. So if they are providing any services of rental, then any person who is registered under GST, only then he has to pay. So they're clear that who has to pay GST here when they've used the word that any person who is registered under CGST Act. So any person who is registered under the GST Act, only then, and he's taking any rental services from the government. If he is registered, only then he has to pay GST. If he's not registered, then he does not have to. So only in case of this, where they specifically use that a person who is registered under GST, only in such case he has to pay, not otherwise. But in all other cases, whether he's not registered or not registered, well, they've used a business entity, then he has to pay it. Services supplied by a director of a company or a body corporate. So you have a director who can be a managing director who's taking salary. So if he's taking a salary, then he does not have to pay any GST because you have an employer-employee relationship. But services supplied by a director of a company to the said company of a body corporate. So if an employer-employee relationship is there, we have seen under Schedule 3, that is outside GST. There's no GST on an employer paying any salary to an employee. Now that employee can be a normal employee or he can be a managing director also. Managing director also are in the nature of an employee itself. So in that case, no GST will apply. But any other services they are providing, like independent directors or any other directors, a director of a company or a body corporate, when they provide services, they collect charges in terms of, say, they can collect some director sitting fees or any other professional fees they can collect. So on that, the company has to pay a reverse charge basis. So whatever charges the company pays to the director other than the salary, on all of that, reverse charge will apply. Okay. Then security services. Services provided by way of supply of security personnel provided to a registered person, right? Simple, then we'll come to the proviso. Security services provided to a registered person, any person other than a body corporate, which means the security service, the supplier who is providing this service should not be a body corporate. So if he is a body corporate, then he's out of this and he has to pay normal forward charge. So security agency, if he's a company, then he has to pay GST under forward charge and he has to collect from his customer. But if the security service is other than a body corporate, like a proprietorship or a partnership, okay, because they've just used the word body corporate. So proprietorship or a partnership providing any service to a registered person, then the registered person has to pay. So me as a company, I will have to see the invoice, whether from the invoice, I will have to see the nature of the constitution of this person. I will get to know that whether he's a proprietor, partner, or a company. If he's a company, I will not pay reverse charge. If he's a proprietor or partnership firm, then I will pay under reverse charge. Okay, provided nothing contained in this entry shall apply to Department of Establishment of Central Government, Local Authority, or Government Authority. So if a security agency is providing to any of these government authorities, then also GST will not apply. Then reverse charge will not apply, forward charge will apply. So this is, whenever they say exclusion, it means that it is exclusion from reverse charge. Instead of reverse charge, forward charge will apply. Okay. Then this is very important. Supply of services by a GTA who has not paid central tax at the rate of 6%. So GTA is very important. When a GTA provides services to any of these 7 category of people, then reverse charge will apply. So for this, I have a separate slide to explain because GTA is very much in detail. So we will understand how whenever a GTA provides services, who has to pay GST. Okay. Then services provided by of renting of motor vehicles. This is also important. For renting of motor vehicles designed to carry passengers, where the cost of fuel is included in the consideration charged from the service recipient, which means if I'm renting something, including the fuel charges, where I am only providing the fuel and I'm charging something, then the body corporate, if it's a body corporate, then he has to pay reverse charge. This also will be separately explained. Then all other things I think are not much important. Services supplied by any person by way of transfer of FSI, like in terms of real estate transactions, FSI is transferred, then the promoter has to pay. Okay. In case of long-term lease, also promoter has to pay. In case of insurance agent, the insurance company has to pay. In case of a recovery agent, the banking or the bankers appoint recovery agents to collect something if you have not paid the repaid the loans on time. Right. In such cases, the banking company appoints a recovery agent. They'll do the vasuli and give the amount to banker. On that, whatever recovery agent's charges is there, that is also there under reverse charge. Then music composer, photographer, and artist providing any services to the music company or a producer. In that case, they will have to pay reverse charge. An author providing services to a publisher, publisher has to pay. Member of overseeing committee of an RBI, RBI has to pay. Individual direct selling agents, there also banking company has to pay. So these are all there, which says that who will pay the GST on reverse charge. Sir, I've explained all of this, but on import of services, you said one time that GST is payable under reverse charge, but that is not there in any of these lists. Because in case of a import of services, it is an IGST transaction. So the notification is there under the IGST law. Under integrated tax also, there is a notification number 10 of 2017. There we will see that any person located in a non-taxable territory providing a service to any person who is located in non-taxable territory, a service supplied by any person located in a non-taxable territory to any person other than a non-taxable online recipient. So online recipient is a special category of person, as I said, online information database access and retrieval services. If I am other than that, then I have to pay. Okay, so if I receive any services from outside India, and we have seen that on import, when is GST leviable? So on such cases, I have to pay under reverse charge. Okay, so reverse charge applies on all of those categories. One additional thing is on case of import of services also I have to pay. Clear? So important ones, GTA and motor vehicle, we'll see that separately now. So anything, once we'll go through the GTA and thing, then we'll discuss on other RCM questions. All right. When a GTA provides services to a service recipient who is one of these 7 categories, then these person has to pay reverse charge at 5% or 12%, whichever is applicable. Okay, if it is reverse charge, then the rate will be 5%. If the GTA provides services, charges 12%, then it will be forward. It will be on forward charge, and that reverse charge will not apply. Okay, which means a GTA has an option saying that they can claim input tax credit and charge GST. Okay, if they are providing to even to these 7 category of people, if they want to claim the credit, saying that okay, we have so much of credit and we'll be incurring loss if we don't pay GST and a forward charge, then if they want to claim it, then they can claim the credit and pay GST at 12% firstly. So they have an option to pay GST at 12%, okay, under forward charge, and they can claim the credit. That is option 1, what is available to a GTA. But if they, most of them will not opt for it because they don't want to claim the credit and they don't want to get registered, then in that case, if they are providing to any of these 7 people, then it will be applicable on reverse charge. Now, who are these 7 category of people? A factory who is registered under Factories Act, a society who is registered under any act. Society can be registered under Societies Registration Act, Trust Act, various acts are there. So if it's a society registered under any act, they can also claim, then also reverse charge will applicable. Any cooperative society, any person registered under GST, if he's registered under GST, fine. If he's not registered under GST and he's a body corporate, if it's a company which is not registered, then it will fall under this category, then they will also have to pay GST under reverse charge. A partnership firm, whether registered or not, including an association of person, partnership firm, including association of person, a casual taxable person. What's a casual taxable person will come under registration. There is a special category of registration given. So that is a casual taxable person. So one of these 7 category of person who is receiving any service from a GTA, then, and if the GTA is not charging GST, then they have to pay GST under reverse charge. How it will be the rate? The rate will be 5% and GST liability will be on the above person. Okay. The condition is provided the ITC on goods or services used in supplying such service by GTA has not been taken by the GTA. So GTA should not have claimed the credit. If the GTA claims the credit, then they have to charge 12% itself. Otherwise, it's always these people who will pay the GST. It belongs to another category, individual unregistered person, then it is exempt. So if it is providing to these 7 category of people, then it is taxable to the recipient. Otherwise, if it is providing services to any other category like individual or unregistered person, then it will be exempted. So GTA, 1 category is liable to reverse charge, 1 category is liable to forward charge if the GTA is claiming the credit, and 3rd category is to any person other than these 7 category is exempted category. Okay, let's understand this through another chart also. GTA service, first is payment of GST at 12% and taking full ITC. And if it is providing to registered person, right, then if this GTA is providing services to a registered person or to this notified person, if the GTA is providing any services to any registered person or to an unregistered person, but one of these 7 notified categories, then GST is payable under forward charge because they are charging GST at 12%. So if they are charging 12%, then they have to always pay under forward charge. Okay, if they're paying 12%, it is under forward charge. If they are providing to any person other than these 7 categories, then it is exempt. So even at 12%, if it wants to register and pay, still it can get exempted because it is providing to others, individuals or partners or anything which is not under these 7 category of people, right? And if it is saying that no, I will not claim ITC, then the payment of GST is at 5% without ITC to this fellow. He will have to mention there saying that I am claiming credit and I'm charging, if it's charging GST at 12%, Otherwise, it is always assumed that he's not claiming any ITC. I have to pay reverse charge. He'll only give me a consignment note. Who's the GTA? GTA is a person who's providing transportation of goods on the basis of a consignment note. Consignment note is a small slip wherein they say, okay, I'm transporting this goods to another place, from one place to another place, and the responsibility is on me, on the GTA. So once they say that, then if they're providing any services to me and I am registered or I am one of these categories of 7 category of people, then reverse charge will be applicable, and recipient who pays the freight is liable to pay GST, which means a supplier is supplying the goods through a GTA through a recipient. Now, supplier says, I will pay the goods transport agency, you only clear the goods. Then who will pay the GST? GST will be paid by the supplier if he is falling under these 7 categories. Or if I'm transporting the goods and saying the recipient, the customer saying the customer, you have to pay the clearance charges to the GTA. Then you'll have to see the nature of this fellow, whether he is under one of these 7 categories, then he will pay GST, not otherwise. Okay, so it is a way of planning also you can do, saying that if you are registered and the recipient is a non-registered, then you can tell the recipient that you pay the goods, pay to the GTA agency. Now he is not registered and he is not under those 7 categories, so you can avoid GST because there is an exemption there, saying that if you're not a notified person, there's nothing like a evasion of tax which I'm doing a tax planning because the recipient is not registered, and they've said that the person who pays to the GTA agent is the person who has to pay GST under RCM if it is applicable. So if the recipient is one of those other than 7 category people, then he will be exempted. Okay. Okay, not many questions, not bad. If tax is paid under RCM, recipient paid it from his side or first charge the tax from the supplier and pay. I mean, tax under RCM is the cost of recipient or the supplier. In case of RCM, it is a cost of the receiver and not the supplier. Supplier will not charge anything. If tax is paid on the same question, Charu. So if it is the recipient, then this will be a recipient's cost. It's actually not a cost because once he pays it, he can claim the credit of that also. So if I'm taking anything from GTA, I will pay the tax to the government on the basis of the challan which I pay to the government. I can claim the credit also. So supplier, when he charges something, he will charge with GST. I can claim the credit, right? Similarly, when the recipient pays the tax, he has to pay the taxes in cash and he can claim the credit of it. Had the supplier been registered, he would have paid, right? So similarly, instead of him paying it, I am paying it. So I can claim the credit. From whom the tax is levied if the supplier as well as recipient both are unregistered. If both are unregistered, then tax is not payable. It will be an exempt. So the person who is purchasing goods and services, that person have to pay a tax under RCM? Yes, he has to pay tax under RCM if he's falling under those categories. Taxable territory means any territory where tax is payable, that is the whole of India as a taxable territory. Is individual getting services from advocate liable to pay reverse charge? No, because we saw that it is only applicable to a business entity. So individual getting services from an advocate, it is not liable to reverse charge. It is liable to forward charge there. So advocate has to charge GST and pay to the government. Service provider can opt for composition levy. Yes, only service provider can opt for composition levy. If an advocate files income tax return of his client, will it be treated as legal services? It is not a legal service. It will not be treated as a legal service because there's no legal thing involved. It's just only assisting his client in filing the IT return. Sponsorship in case Tata IPL, Tata has to pay RCM. Yes, correct, Mahendra. In case of Tata IPL, Tata has to pay RCM. Yeah, RCM on GPA was little complicated, but with those slides, it will be easy to understand. Whether we have to memorize all this provision, we don't have to memorize the provisions. We have to memorize the application of the provisions because they will give you a scenario and you have to apply who will pay GST, who will pay RCM. You have to understand the concept and apply. Not you don't have to memorize the provisions and such. Can we claim ITC and RCM? If yes, we use ITC of forward charge and RCM, or can we use the ITC of RCM and RCM? No, ITC of RCM and RCM cannot be claimed. RCM has to be paid in cash, and then whatever is paid can be claimed. What is the expansion of GST, goods and services tax? Is courier service a GTA? No, courier service is not a GTA, because courier services are different from goods transport agency. Goods transport agency gives a consignment note and they deliver goods from one place to another. But a courier agency is a different agency which does door-to-door delivery. They don't take responsibility of your goods. If any goods is lost, they don't take responsibility. They're only saying that we will transport the goods to the other place, but they're not taking any responsibility. So courier service is different from a GTA service. Yeah, if GTA service providing services to an individual, I'm not registered, I'm taking any GTA services for, say, transferring of goods from one house to another house, I'm shifting my house. So in that case, if I'm taking services of a GTA, then he is not registered. Whether he's registered or not, I am not one of those 7 category of people, then I don't have to pay GST under RCM, and he also is not required to pay GST. GST paid under RCM, can credit be claimed? Yes, credit can be claimed. If 7% takes goods through unregistered individual, then no GST has to be paid under reverse charge. No, Rekha Kumari. If 7% takes goods through an unregistered individual, which is they will take 7 categories only there for GTA service. So if any of these 7 category takes the services of a GTA from unregistered person, then they have to pay reverse charge. They have to pay GST under reverse charge. Whether GST is registered or not, that doesn't matter. Notified person pays reverse charge, then why GTA also pays forward charge? If notified pays under RCM, so there will not be double taxation. So I've said 2 rates are there, 12% and 5%. So if 12% is there, then it is always forward charge. If it is 12%, it is always forward charge. See, if you see this thing here, if it is 12%, it is always forward charge. No reverse charge in this case. 12% forward charge, 12% forward charge are exempt if it is to other than 7 category of people. But if it is 5%, only then it is reverse charge. Okay, so it's not that both will pay, it will only either supplier will pay or receiver will pay. No, yeah. Mansa, both rates 5% and 12% is to be ultimately borne by registered recipient or end consumer. It's beneficial for recipient to opt GST payable at 5% and claim ITC. Correct. But if supplier charges GST, then you have to pay it to him. If we have to claim credit, we have to pay GST at 12%. No, that is not correct, Ms. Dubey Sunil. If you have to claim the credit, in either case, you can claim it. The credit of the GTA provider. So one person is there, GTA, he is providing services to you. Now, if this GTA wants to claim, he can claim credit of whatever expenses he has, whatever purchases he has, but he has to charge GST at 12%. Now, if he wants to claim the credit, he will charge 12%. If he charges me 12%, I'll get the credit. If he doesn't charge me anything also, I will pay taxes through the government under reverse charge, and I can still claim the credit. So whether 12% or 5%, whether the supplier pays or receiver pays, both the cases, credit is available. So, too many concepts today? Yes, too many concepts, but reverse charge only we'll discuss today. We'll not discuss on composition scheme. Composition scheme we'll discuss in the next class, Ms. Pooja. GTA is registered or not, doesn't matter. Could you please give a real example of a GTA? Real example of GTA, I've given one example of transportation of goods, of shifting of house. Other example is when this big goods carriages are there, okay, when I have to do a transportation of huge consignment of, say, I'll take an example of textile. I'm a textile manufacturer. I've manufactured the goods and I'm generally in Ludhiana. I have my office, go down there in Ludhiana. I'm manufacturer of clothes. Now I have to transport the goods to my wholesaler. Now wholesaler is sitting in Tamil Nadu. He's saying transport the goods. Now I will transport the goods not on my own vehicle. I am not having my own vehicle. So I will use a goods transport agency saying that these goods you'll have to transport it to Tamil Nadu. So when this person transports, he will give me a consignment note saying that this is the weight of the goods and these are the value of the goods what I'm transporting. Once he gives me this thing called what is called a slip consignment note. Once he gives me the consignment note, I am paying him as a supplier. I am paying him. Okay, as to the GTA, I am paying. Now, if I pay to this GTA and I am registered under GST, and this fellow, when he gives me consignment, he's not mentioning any tax on it. If he's not mentioning any tax on it, it means he's not paying tax at 12%. Because had he paid at 12%, he would have mentioned in the consignment note. If he's not mentioning in the anything there, then it means I have to pay under reverse charge. When I'm giving this consignment note, I'm paying money to him. Okay, on that consignment note value, I have to pay GST to the government. So that's how GST works. Another example, same Ludhiana, I will tell consignment note and I will tell, okay, the receiver will pay. Okay, then the receiver is there. Now, if he is unregistered and if he is not falling under the 7 categories, he does not have to pay the taxes to the government. But if he is a company or if he is a factory registered under Factories Act, then he will have to pay GST under reverse. So who pays amount to the GTA decides whether reverse charge is applicable or no. Okay, so if I am not paying any money to the GTA, then I don't have to worry about RCM. The person, the receiver, the other person who pays it, if he is one of those categories, then he has to pay GST under RCM. Do composition person liable to pay RCM? Yes, composition person also is liable to pay RCM. Very good question, Rakesh. Is it necessary to know the notified person? Yes, yes. In case of GT RCM, Goods Transport Agency RCM, 7 categories notified person, you will have to know it. Is GTA paid only for consignment of goods? Yes, only for consignment of goods. If we claim full ITC by paying 12%, then why will someone pay only 5% and go for ITC claim? So it is from the GTA perspective, Mr. Sunil, that if he wants to claim ITC by paying 12%, then I will not pay 5%. I will have to pay 12% only to him. So it depends on the GTA whether they want to get registered and whether they want to claim the credit. Payment of GST at 5% without ITC is paid by the recipient? Yes, it is paid by the recipient. GTA simply if 12% forward charge and if it's 5% then always reverse charge except in case of other person. Correct sentence, Mr. Shiva. Why it is exempt to others? GST should be borne by final consumer? No, because they are not registered and they cannot register for this. That's the reason it is exempt for others. GTA arrangement done by supplier only. Generally it is done by supplier, but if it's a regular GTA agency, then it is done by the recipient also, saying that okay, you have to get goods from there to here. So the GTA agency will get it. No, it doesn't, Mr. Sunil. It depends upon us that if we want to claim or not, payment of GST will be made accordingly. No. It is not depending on us. It is depending on the GTA agency. If he wants to claim the credit, he will charge 12%. If he does not want to claim the credit, then I will pay under reverse charge. Little complicated, but just understand. When the supplier wants to claim the credit, when the GTA agency wants to claim the credit, they will claim the credit and charge 12% GST. That 12% will be available as a credit to me. But if he does not want to claim the credit, then he will not claim the credit and he will not charge GST on outward supply also. And he will just do the service of transporting the goods. Once he does the service of transporting the goods, I will have to pay GST under RCM. Is RCM type of TDS? No, RCM is not a type of TDS. Because TDS, when we withhold something to him, instead of paying 1 lakh rupees to my vendor, I'll pay 90,000 to him, 10,000 to the government, that will come to him. But under RCM, I will pay to the government, but that will not come to his credit. It will come to my own credit. So there is a difference between the RCM and GST and RCM and TDS. Clear. So now we'll move ahead with other category of reverse charge. One is GTA, which we understood. The other one is in terms of renting of motor vehicles. So this is a little more complicated than what we have discussed in GTA, but let's try to understand what happens here. clarification of applicability of forward charge, renting of motor vehicles, including cost of fuel. This reverse charge is applicable firstly only when the cost includes the cost of fuel. When somebody is renting motor vehicles, including the cost of fuel, only then this is applicable. When the service, if the renting is provided, it's just renting of car and the fuel you fill it. You as a customer, you fill it, then this will not apply. That will be a forward charge case. But generally, you have this services of rave or services of some companies wherein they provide car along with the fuel, and you can rent it out for 1 day or 2 days. Okay, so in those cases, this will apply. Now, this renting motor vehicle, including cost of fuel, if the service is provided by a body corporate, most of this are body corporates only. When the company it is registered, they will have fleet of cars and they will rent it. When the service is provided by a body corporate, okay, and the service supplied to any person, if it is provided by a body corporate to any person, then supplier, if he's availing ITC, then 12%. If he's not availing ITC, 5%. Both are under forward charge because it is a body corporate. So if it's a body corporate, reverse charge will not come. Don't get confused with GTA and this. GTA is separate, this is separate. Your body corporate supplier is there, their body corporate supplier, non-supplier not required. Here, understand this clearly. If the supplier is a body corporate, it is always under forward charge. Now he can charge 5% or 12%. If he wants to claim the credit, 12%. If he does not want to claim the credit, or if he wants to claim limited credit. What is limited ITC? That ITC which he can claim for anybody who's providing in the same line of business. Like one car dealer taking service from another car dealer, or a renting service person, he has shortage of car, he's taking services from another rental person, then whatever is there in between this two person, he will charge GST on this one car person to another car person, that credit he will claim. So that is what is meaning by supplier availing limited ITC. And the supplier is availing limited ITC means ITC of input services in the same line of business. Means another motor vehicle rental company, if I'm taking any service and is charging GST, only that I can claim. Other rentals, other expenses, other purchases, I cannot claim the credit. So if I'm claiming that also, then that much I can claim and charge at 5%. So body corporate always 5%. Service provided by person other than the body corporate, and the service is supplied to a person other than a body corporate. Okay, if is from one non-body corporate to another non-body corporate, again forward charge. Okay, and only one case where reverse charge will apply is when it is from a non-body corporate to a body corporate. So if a body corporate is availing the services from any person who is not a body corporate, is an individual proprietor, if I'm claiming anything from him, then I will have to pay tax under reverse charge. There also, if the non-body corporate wants to claim ITC, then they will charge 12% and they will claim full ITC. Okay, so supplier, gist of this, supplier renting of motor vehicle with fuel, without fuel, always forward charge. But if it is with fuel, and if the car holding company is a body corporate, then forward charge. If a non-body corporate, first is body corporate, forward charge. Non-body corporate, okay, non-body corporate also two things, non-body corporate to a non-body corporate, again forward charge. Non-body corporate to a corporate, then it is reverse charge. That also if it is 5%, if it is 12%, again forward charge. Clear? So supplier should be other than, in a gist, if you can write down what are the conditions for this. The supplier is other than a body corporate. Okay, supplier is other than a body corporate, first condition. Second thing, supplier does not issue an invoice charging GST at 12%. First condition, supplier is other than a body corporate. Second condition, supplier does not issue an invoice charging GST at 12%. And the supplier supplies a service to a body corporate. Only if all these three conditions are satisfied, then it is under RCM. Okay. Why GST resulted in difficulties when it was initially levied? Initially, when it was levied, they all went on a strike, and the whole movement of essential commodities stopped. So GTA, when they said that in service tax itself it was levied, they said that we'll go on strike and we'll not agree to this. That's the reason they moved from a service tax regime saying that you have to pay under forward charge to a reverse charge. That's the reason it is very difficult to levy any tax on a GTA. When GTA has to register, if he wants to claim the credit, he can register. Otherwise, registration of a GTA is not required. Pooja, your understanding is correct. What is forward charge? Whenever a supplier collects charge from his customer, that is called as forward charge. Motor vehicle concept is very simple, Tulsi. And limited ITC is also simple. What is a limited ITC? When ITC of input services in the same line of business. So when I take services of another renting of motor vehicle, including cost of fuel, when I'm in the same business, another company is in the same line of business of renting motor vehicles, I take services from him. That means we both are in the same line, and any GST I can claim it. Now, what happens in case of renting of motor vehicles? If a company is providing any services, then it is not under reverse charge. It is that the rental company itself will charge GST. But if a rental company is a non-body corporate and they are providing to me, if I am a company or a LLP, then I have to pay under reverse charge. That's all. Now, when I have to pay reverse charge? When the other person is not charging 12%. If he's charging 12%, then no reverse charge for me. If he doesn't charge 12%, only then reverse charge. So two things, body corporate, non-body corporate. If the supplier is a body corporate, no reverse charge. If the supplier is a non-body corporate and I am a body corporate, only then reverse charge. Okay. Repeat third condition. So the third condition is, first condition is supplier is other than a body corporate. Second condition is supplier does not issue an invoice charging GST at 12%. Third condition is supplier supplies the service to a body corporate. Supplier supplies the service to a body corporate. Is GST all theory or there will be practical questions? GST is all practical questions only. Theory is there for you to understand. If you're strong in this, trust me, during exams, you don't have to go through of these. Only if you go through they have a special content on a board of studies saying that revision for the exam. So only if you go through that, you will understand. And you will have practical things also. Remuneration directors, where the director is an employee or not, you have to see. Okay, if it is an employee relationship, then service by employee to employee is there under Schedule 2 is exempted. Independent directors or other directors who are not employee, in that case, liable to GST under RCM. And if it is ascertained that the director is an employee, then activities performed in the course of employment, so not liable to GST. So how do we know how do we ascertain? One of the tools which is given in a circular is to check employee relationship, check the TDS deduction. Under income tax, we have 192 section. 192 means it's the salary case. So in case of 192, then we don't do GST under RCM, because if the TDS is deducted under 192, it means he's an employee. But if the TDS is deducted under 194J, which means he's a professional, then he is liable to GST under RCM. So this is one of the rules to see whether he's an employee or no. Okay. So if it is 192 deduction, which means he's an employee, there reverse charge will not come. If it is non-192, if it is 194J, okay, then it's a professional services liable to GST under RCM. What are the other points to consider in case of RCM? No partial reverse charge is there. Under service tax, we had this concept of partial reverse charge, but there's no concept of partial reverse charge under GST. 100% tax will be paid by the recipient if reverse charge mechanism will apply, or the supplier. It's not like 50-50%. No. Either supplier will pay if he is fully under non-GST, non-RCM, but if it is under RCM, it will always be 100%. That is first condition. One thing to note. Other thing is all taxpayers required to pay tax under reverse charge has to mandatorily obtain registration. So once we have seen this clearly, right? So if you have to pay GST under RCM, being a business entity, taking services from a lawyer, taking services from a GTA services, then if I am liable and if I'm falling under those categories, then I have to obtain registration and pay. For me, if I'm under RCM under 90, I don't have the exemption threshold. The limit of a registration, what is discussed, that will not apply. Okay. So that example, that zero turnover, and if I'm claiming taking any services up to 1 lakh rupees also, or 10,000 also, even then I have to register and pay. Payment of taxes under reverse charge cannot be made with the utilization of input tax credit and has to be made in cash. Okay, I cannot claim the input tax credit and pay it saying that I have so much of credit, I'll pay. No, reverse charge mechanism has to be paid through cash itself. The recipient, once he's made the payment of reverse charge, can take the credit of tax paid on inward supplies liable to reverse charge once the recipient makes the payment of tax in cash. Once I make the payment in cash, then I can claim it. Now I'll quickly go to the FAQs, MCQs, very few MCQs. Then we'll discuss on other points, what is marketplace, what is e-commerce, and what is composition levy in the next class. We'll go through the MCQs first. Which of the following is treated as an interstate supply? When the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, when the this we have discussed, this you should give answer for first one. Second one, exempt supply means supply of any goods or services or both which attracts which tax? Nil rate of tax, non-taxable supplies, both or none of the above. Yes, Pooja Gajar. This is reading will be required because this is a new concept. So once you read through, you'll understand this. This is not very tough to understand. Once you read it, you'll get it. So give simple example for RCM. Simple example is lawyer is provided services to you. You have to pay tax instead of lawyer paying. That is called reverse charge. Okay. Now when I buy, say this air conditioner, who will pay tax? The seller pays. So he is under normal tax. But if I take the services of a lawyer, I pay taxes. That is called reverse charge. That's a simple example of a reverse charge. If RCM is applied only then when no ITC, supplier is not body corporate, but recipient is a body corporate, supplier charge 5%, not 12%, then correct me. Supplier is a non-body corporate, but recipient is a body corporate. In case of the car example, right? Then supplier charge 5%, not 12%. Then supplier will not charge anything if he's not a body corporate. I will have to pay under 5%. We cannot claim and use ITC under RCM. There is a confusion. No, we cannot claim ITC to pay ITC. We cannot claim ITC to pay RCM. We cannot claim ITC to pay RCM, but once we pay the RCM, that is the credit which will be available. So to pay the RCM, you have to pay it through cash. Once you have paid it through cash, that is a credit which is available to you. In case of directors, TDS and RCM both applicable? Yes, TDS and RCM both will be applicable because the TDS under income tax, RCM is under GST, so both will be applicable. Why in module the provision of RCM is not explained in this way? Why it is not explained? They have just explained the theoretical things. Once we have some sessions like this, we will understand it. If the entity is beyond the territory, then who will pay the tax? If the entity is beyond the territory, then nobody will pay the tax. First one question is answer is D. Everybody's answered it correctly. Second, D is not the answer. Second, C is the answer. Yes, C is the answer. 1D, everybody's answered correctly. Second, it's not A, it is A and B, right? It is nil rate of tax. The exempt supply means the rate of tax is nil, which is wholly exempt from tax under section 7 or section 6. That is through notification there will be an exemption. And exempt supply includes non-taxable supplies also. So the definition of exempt supply, when you read, you'll see that nil rate of tax are wholly exempt from tax, and it also includes non-taxable supply. So it includes non-taxable supply also. Okay, go to question number 3 and 4. CGST Act 2017 and IGST Act 2007 extends to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir, none of the above. Or question number 4, which are the following falls under reverse charge mechanism? Supply of service by GTA, supply service by arbitral, supply services provided by way of sponsorship. Very simple questions this time. 3 answer. Okay. How is reverse charge credit available? Reverse charge credit is available to you. So in your returns, when you see, you'll understand that when I pay taxes on the reverse charge, I'll mention that this is the tax and I cannot file my returns without paying. So I will pay it and the credit automatically comes to my credit ledger. Credit which is available in RCM can be claimed for CGST and SGST also too. Yes, credit which is available because RCM also, if you will have to pay CGST RCM and SGST RCM. So listen to this. When I have to pay RCM, I will have to determine what is the location of supplier and place of supply. It is not that under RCM I will always pay IGST. Under RCM also, I will see what is the location of the supplier and the place of supply. I will have to decide on behalf of the supplier. I will decide where he is and where he is providing me the service. If it is a IGST transaction, I will pay GST, RCM, IGST. If he is a local thing, I will pay CGST, RCM and SGST, RCM. Okay, so whatever he has to charge, that I will pay. If he has to pay CGST, SGST, I will pay CGST, SGST. If he has to pay IGST, I will pay IGST. So that's how it will work. Question number 3, answer is A. Yes, question number 3, answer is A. And question number 4, all the 3 categories, answer is B. Correct. Very excellent, excellent. Everybody is giving correct answers. Now let's move on to the last question. What are the scenarios which falls under scope of Schedule 3? Director's remuneration, which is declared as salaries in the books of company and subject to TDS under 192. Director's remuneration, which is declared as separately other than salaries in the books of accounts and subject to TDS under 194J. Both A and B are none of the above. What's the benefit to the government if we claim credit on RCM? At least the taxes get paid. Otherwise, the taxes will never get paid because some entities like restaurant services, composition dealers, construction services, these are all major players. Even though they cannot claim the credit, they have to pay under RCM. So there the government will benefit. If it was not under RCM, supplier would not have paid. Like a GTA, he provides services to a construction company. The supplier, the GTA agency would not have paid. In case of a construction company, they have to pay under RCM and they cannot claim the credit. So in such cases, the government is at benefit, saying that, okay, you pay it, but you cannot claim the credit because under construction services, we'll see that they can only pay taxes, but they cannot claim the taxes. So such cases, they will pay under RCM and they will not be able to claim the credit. So there is a benefit to the government. What is the rationale between 2 different rates for GST services? There's no 2 different rates. Yeah. In case of that GTA, we saw things because if they are claiming credit, then they can pay more taxes. That's the reason the rate is more because they are able to claim the credit. And if they're not able to claim the credit, they don't want to burden further. That's the reason the rate will be less in that case. Wow. Question number 5 is really tricky. That's why everybody is giving all kinds of answers. Somebody is giving A, few people are giving B, few are saying C, and some are saying D also. Charu, you're asking if we can claim ITC but cannot use ITC under RCM, then what is the benefit of ITC? ITC you can claim for other things. RCM is only one category of paying taxes, but you have other taxes also. No, when you sell something, you can use the credit. So ITC is not useless. ITC is very much useful for paying taxes on your sales, on any of your outward supplies, what you're doing. On that, you can claim ITC. You cannot claim this ITC for RCM. That's the only thing. But other taxes, outward taxes, what you have, for that you can claim it. So the question for answer 5 is, Schedule 3, it is only in case of employer and employee, which is A. Only director's remuneration, which is declared as salaries in the books of accounts and subject to TDS under 192 of the Income Tax Act. So only employer-employee relationship, that is 5A, is the correct answer. Any other doubts you had in this topic? We will have to disclose on 9.5, which is market model, in what happens in case of e-commerce companies. Okay, then classification, we will discuss this, and then we will also discuss what is the rate on real estate services. Then we'll discuss on the composition scheme in the next class. So these are the topics which we will cover in the next class. Very technical session today, but a lot of questions and a lot of things to move your brain. I'm happy that most of you all have understood it well. What type of questions will be asked related to this topic? They could be a part of other questions, not only this. In terms of reverse charge, it will not be a simple reverse charge. Understanding it takes time, but it will not be a simple question of reverse charge. With other question, it will get bundled, saying that, okay, these are the category of transactions we will there. Calculate the tax payable. So there you will get one service obtained on case of a legal services. So then you'll know that, okay, this has to be part of your calculation. That's how it will come and not a separate question. Ms. Charu, you're asking what benefits of RCM under ITC. Benefits of RCM is once you pay it, you can claim it. Okay, you can claim it. So that's a credit which is available. SGST 5% and CGST 12% on one transaction, is it possible? No, not possible. CGST and SGST, both rates will be same. Quickly revives goods transport agency. Goods transport agency, yes. Goods transport agency is simple. A GTA providing services to any person. Okay. If he's providing any services to any person and he wants to claim the credit, he will charge at 12% under forward charge. Now, he does not want to claim credit, he does not want to register, then it will be 5%. When it will be 5%, when the GTA is providing services to 7 category of people. 7 category of people will be factories, cooperative society, or a registered society, or a person who is registered under GST, and other 2 people. So 7 category of people is, if they are getting anything from a GTA, then they will have to pay GST under RCM at 5%. Simple. Okay. So if they are getting anything from a GTA, they have to pay GST, they have to pay taxes under RCM at 5%. Once they pay taxes, this is available as a credit. Clear, Namrata? Just GTA you could understand. How can ITC be claimed? ITC can be claimed by mentioning in your return. So when we go to ITC, there are some conditions. Once you're satisfying those conditions, you claim those things in your returns. Once you file it in your returns, the credit is available to you. So you have understood with examples. Very good. So I'll give you more examples. Revision needed? Yes, revision is needed, please. IDT is also like DT, sir, but like no single simple question will be asked everywhere. Will be combined? Yes, it will all be combined. You will not have a simple, straightforward question. But simple, straightforward question, then you will not be CA students. You have to get complicated questions. so that then your knowledge increases, so that when the client asks, they will also ask complicated questions, right? So that's why we are preparing you for complicated world, so that you are prepared in your practical world. That's the reason these questions will be complicated. Credit of RCM is available irrespective of whether you sell goods further or no. Once you have taken the RCM services, the credit will be available. No need for you to sell it. It will be lying in your electronic credit ledger as a credit. That will be credit available with you. Yes, Sunil Dubey, you're correct. Reverse charge is not the liability to pay tax, is not on supplier, but on the recipient. Yes. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the session because I could see a lot of questions being asked, lot of queries, and I'm able to, hopefully your queries got resolved and you're able to understand this. Thank you very much. We'll meet day after tomorrow, same time, same place. Yes, sir.